Because I thought you would have, maybe.
Yeah. Woke up.
That you could believe in that is gonna still guide you towards fear, or things that's gonna take you away from nature. You know what I'm saying? So that just the idea of belief is not necessarily the stronghold.
Right. You got to have some science backing up. Doc says it's the secret, quantum physics, the combined power of all mankind. Done, son. Yeah. King Chalk Entertainment. Here we go. If you haven't already, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check us live and become a part of the show on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, Wednesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. and Friday and Saturday at 1 a.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah. While you're playing the game, working out, cleaning, or whatever, check out the more refined audio versions of the show on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, and more. Keyword King Tracker ENT. Yeah. Shouts out to Pat, Doc, Deuce, Curtis, Brendan, Elliott, Juanita, Jay Lethal, Tariq, my Twitch follower, Francisco, and others for always supporting the channel. Yeah. Race, spirituality, politics. Let's talk about it. We generate interest into what has happened and what is happening in our world. Therefore, creating activists. Let's go. Dale gas, baby. Hey.
Dime qué tú quieres, papi.
Yes, I am drinking. Recording this shit. Yeah. This damn green man, it's got me sitting sideways. This damn lean man, it's got me sitting sideways. I'm on the scene, man, I'm sitting sideways. You don't feel like me, that's why you looking at me. I'm riding clean and I'm flying down the freeway. Nowhere to be, so I'm taking me a free day. Defensive driving, best to listen to what he say. I'm higher than a child on the first day of pre-K. Drive slow, I ain't tripping on the delay. The cup I'm sipping on is giving dumb leeway. Anyway, the optimal action spilling on my khakis instead of the ashtray. Brush it off and keep it moving on. Shift my attention to what else I could be doing wrong. Sure, someone on my phone I could be screwing on. So you alone? Bring your whole crew along. Sit around the table playing beer pong. She drunk, she bending over and she got a clip on. I'm looking from the back, man, I got an ass on. Wake up on my back, where the grass come from? This damn green man, it's got me sitting sideways. This damn lean man, it's got me sitting sideways. I'm on the scene, and you know I'm sitting sideways. You don't feel like me, that's why you looking at me sideways. This damn green man, it's got me sitting sideways. This damn lean man, it's got me sitting sideways. I'm on the scene, man, I'm sitting sideways. You don't feel like me, that's why you looking at me sideways. I'm the king and we gon' do the things my way. I wanna see you in skinny jeans on Friday. When I'm leaning to the left, you better be leaning in the right way. I'm cleaner than a washing machine. If you hyperallergenic, get your antihistamine. You're like a tightwad caught in between a full of latrine and a pistol whipping fiend. Gotta get the cream is on top. ACE, we the team that won't stop. They calling me the dean cause I teach them what's hot. Thought you were the new thing, we can see that you're not. We had to get mean cause we're taking your spot. We wanna get a ring, sit in championship box. Call up your queens and tell them get clocked. When they see the muscle is supreme, your boys gon' kick rock. This damn green man got me sitting sideways. This damn lean man got me sitting sideways. I'm on the scene and you know I'm sitting sideways. You don't feel like me, that's why you looking at me sideways. This damn green man got me sitting sideways. This damn lean man got me sitting sideways. I'm on the scene and you know I'm sitting sideways. You don't feel like me, that's why you looking at me sideways. We thought you were the new thing, but we can see that you're not. Yo, we thought you were the new thing, but we can see that you're not. If you got your own and you clean, drop it like it's hot. If you got your own and you clean, drop it like it's hot. Everybody say wow. How you gon' jock my side? Say wow. How you gon' jock my side? Say wow. How you gon' jock my side? Say wow. How you gon' jock my style? This chick remind me my drink. Yo, this bitch is drunk on my drink. Yo, this trick is smoking my dang. I want her to stop, but I can't. I'm leaning to the side, man. I'm leaning to the side, man. Yo, everybody vibing, the lights flashing, ain't nobody hiding. I'm full of passion. I see this chick smiling with her action. She said she from an island. I'm just passing. I said stop lying. We started laughing. Girl, what you drinking? I'm on that captain. Now we on pink panties with a napkin. I got a blunt dipped in brandy that we passing. Now we leaning to the side in the bass bang. She feeling on my thigh, my chain swinging. Feeling alright now. The game changing. Right on time now. We both swaying. Do that new style now. Bojangles, I wanna see your tatas. Do those jangles? What about those now guys? I need angles. Call me your papa. Grab your ankles. Move like chaka chaka. When it's anal, I got to get ya. And it's painful. Split you like a swisher. With a label, you know we can make it without being naked. We can make them think we fake it. Shake it. Make me take it. Yo, this chick remind me my drink. Yo, this bitch is drunk on my drink. This trick is smoking my dang. I want her to stop, but I can't. I'm leaning to the side, man. 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 If you got a cup, put that shit up. Lean it to the side. Lean it to the side. If you got a fat cat and your drawers and bra match, lean it to the side. Lean it to the side. If you just got off of work and your fucking feet hurt, lean it to the side. Lean it to the side. If you shine fly and everybody know your ass high, lean it to the side. Lean it to the side. If it's getting hot and you drink Henny on the rocks, lean it to the side. Lean it to the side. If you a hot girl and you can stop and make it pop, lean it to the side. Lean it to the side. Yo, this chick remind me my drink. Yo, this bitch is drunk on my drink. Yo, this trick is smoking my dang. I want her to stop, but I can't. I'm leaning to the side, man. I'm leaning to the side, man. I'm leaning to the side, man. I'm leaning to the side, man.
Choose your destiny.
Don't rap angry.
It's time to raise the bar. I'm finna set the pace. Straight gangsta mannerism like my homie Mr. Scarface. Come step in our place, we treat you like a car chase. All you niggas bumpers keep it jumping over far states. Buy out the bar, grate your money like a shark bait. Call you strawberry cause I eat you like a shark cake. Your click is bird cake, the other half is shark bait. Swimming through my water, meet your slaughter on this dark day. You niggas start late, I beat you out the starting gate. By the time you finish the race, I'm at my place watching Martin Lake. Those under par hate my lyrics and my star shape, but it's not for nothing, I keep busting till a war break. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. I keep my shit hard for my customers. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. I keep my shit hard for my customers. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. I keep my shit hard for my customers. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. I keep my shit hard for my customers.
I'm a forever grind, I got them clever rhymes. My shit toxic, burn like betadine. He wanna hit the lab, the nigga got it bad. Pop shit, spit, tell a nigga never mind. My eyes blind and shine, you said that 7 times. Hit the light switch, come up with some better lines. Don't trip, this is not rap shit. This is life, bitch, strike quick with the force that sever minds. You niggas get your math, you better watch your path. Cause this ag ass nigga about to make a splash. You pussy niggas stink and need to take a bath. Heed what I speak, JC reach out and touch your slacker ass. Copy men can't comprehend shit. I'ma have to make them stay after class. Go ahead and follow the fad. Use a hoe. Maybe now you can have a reality show how to act a ass. I want the industry to stay mad at me. Rip your spine out your back. Fatality. Stop your cardiac automatically. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. Keep my shit hard for my customers. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. Keep my shit hard for my customers. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. Keep my shit hard for my customers. I'm a hustler, use a bitch fraud and I'm a muscle, yeah. Keep my shit hard for my customers.
What's good? How y'all doing out there? How you feel? Remember, we want you to be an activist. And don't take my word for it. Look that shit up, please. How y'all feel out there? How y'all doing, man? What's up, dudes? You there?
Yeah, I'm here, man. I thought I was having some technical difficulties.
You know, that's the reason why, you know, I watch a lot of YouTube and I've seen a lot of live streams and even the professional ones that they do. And they always start off with like something that's stalling for a while. And it serves a couple purposes. One of them is to give people time to get their notification and come and join the show. But it also gives you a chance to, you know, deal with those last minute technical difficulties and shit like that. So that's what I do when the music is playing. I'm loading videos and I'm preparing for the show. I'm double checking and making sure I got everything in order. And there's always stuff that, you know, pops up that you're not ready for and shit like that you got to deal with last second, or something you forgot about or whatever. So that's pretty much how it goes. And these people who do these big, like, you know, they have a whole team of people doing that shit. It's just me. So it's just me doing that show. And that's why I haven't dropped any new anchors lately, because it takes so hard for me to the audio podcast version of the show. It takes so much work for me to edit those and upload them. And I have school and I have work and I have all this shit. And then I'm feeling like I'm not getting much love on that end. Like, I think I got three listeners, 3 total listeners, and that's crazy. So like, and I think my stuff is pretty good. So after doing all that work and then not getting nobody to hear it, it kind of hurts. But anyways,
I understand, man. But sometimes that persistence pays off, though.
Yeah, and that I wholeheartedly believe in that, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I put a whole bunch of, and that's what I'm doing. I'm putting a bunch of freaking material out there for them, stuff for them to consume. And then also, the more I do it, every time I edit a video, every single time I edit a video, I get a little bit better. And every time I do a video like this one, like record these videos and do these live shows, every time I do it, I get a bit better. I learned a little bit more about the technical issues. I look at the analytics all the time. And it gives me a lot of information about people viewing and what parts of the video they view. There's a lot of information. You can swim through that shit. So, I'll be looking at that and I'll be trying to improve the show, Like I say, that's it. Every time I know I get better every time. So that's it. I know some shows are going to be trash and some shows are going to be good. And that's just what it's going to be. Hopefully, as I go along, I make fewer and fewer trash shows and more, something more quality. People can get something from it because, see, I'm trying to make something that people can get something from. Now, people like to it's easy to make people laugh and give them entertainment as far as like 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 2 minutes. Fucking Dave Chappelle's a fucking genius because he can hold people's attention for like an hour. You know what I mean? An hour and a half or something like that, and really just have your attention. And you know what's crazy about Dave Chappelle? What I've noticed as he's grown, he doesn't tell jokes as much no more. A lot of times he's just telling stories. It'll be like dialogue. There's only a few jokes in there. And but he's got you hanging on his every word, even though he's not even telling you jokes while he's, just giving his monologue. That's how genius this guy is. He's really good at what he does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But look, I seen some clips when he did Star Search. I saw some clips when he did this all-white club, all-white venue, and he was doing these racially charged jokes. And he was a young little kid up there looking goofy as fuck. So that's how it goes. Like, he did it, for a long time and kept trying to get better and better and better and better at it. And that's the reason why he's so good at it today. I would say he's one of the best. I mean, who's better than Dave Chappelle in that arena? Who could pull bigger crowds than Dave Chappelle as just straight up as a comedian? Who can you think of? I mean, you got, what's his name? The short guy, the short ass dude. What is his name? He be filling stadiums. What is his name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. He's in every fucking thing. He's not that funny to me, but sometimes he's funny. I remember him telling a joke about a motorcycle and him falling off the motorcycle, and it was in front of his tour bus, and everybody was watching and laughing and shit. What is that nigga name? The little short nigga. That's the comedian. Kevin Hart. Thank you, Doc. Doc is always the one. Thanks, Doc. I couldn't think of. I suck at names. Kevin Hart. But look, Kevin Hart does these safe jokes. Like I say, falling off a motorcycle in front of his tour bus, which is, it's funny. He's energetic and entertaining in the way he what he's good at is his like delivery or whatever. Like somebody else told the same joke, it would not be funny. He makes it funny with his like appearance, his voice, and the way he projects it or whatever. But he stays safe, Kevin Hart. He gets to fill stadiums because he doesn't make white people uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't really make anybody uncomfortable. His stuff is really bland and really like run-of-the-mill type stuff. And that's another reason why he's been, I feel, propped up. You know, he's not nearly as good as Dave Chappelle, I would say. Like, I would say he's not even in the same league. But if you look at the way he's paid, you know, then you would have to say that he's more successful than Dave Chappelle. But he's up there, you know.
He makes more money.
Yeah.
But hello everyone.
What's up, Pat? How you feeling? Deuce,
Feeling
oh wait, I can add you now. It might be your charger, your phone. If your phone battery is low, I noticed that if your battery is low, it gives you a hard time with connecting.
well, no, I mean you. No, I have my phone charged. You talking to me or Deuce?
I was talking to Deuce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nah, I'm on my iPad, bro. But now my iPad is 100% charged. That's why I actually, that's why I text you to make sure that it would be 100% charged. But I'm up here in East Texas, bro. Up here around Mount Enterprise, coming into Nacogdoches. So
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That's what it
Verizon
is.
catches hell up.
Yeah, we hear you, Sue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, Kevin Hart is a talented brother, and I I would say he's a great entertainer. Cause I mean, as far can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as far because I
I
mean,
ain't gonna lie, I don't know the password, bro. You gotta ask my daughter.
Oh shit.
The router's in there, but my daughter's in there. Ask her, bro. Just go ask her what the Wi-Fi password is, or somebody else in there will tell you, because I don't know it. You could climb over that shit.
Yeah, but yeah, he's a great entertainer. You know, he's I would say a decent actor. But as far as like really saying like a comedian, like on the stand up level, I mean he does it, but it's more of a act that he does instead of like he's not really like feeling the crowd and kind of improv and everything has already been played out.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is the reason why he's so successful, Doc says, I want Eddie Griffin to do another special. Eddie Griffin is another one that's just naturally fucking funny as fuck. And he's so smart. But he's not as big as Kevin Hart either. Kevin Hart is big because he's bland. He doesn't offend people. He pays the safe road. You know?
Well, yeah, that's definitely true. But he's even said that he's just like, he does not like to get into politics. And somebody who's awesome who says the same thing is T.K. Kirkland. T.K. Kirkland, because he was talking about he was on the Breakfast Club, and he was talking about the whole Whoopi Goldberg thing. And he was like, yeah, she messed up, she fucked up because like she broke the two golden rules. You don't talk about politics or religion. And I think that for some people they have to because otherwise they wouldn't have a career. Because I mean, Kevin, if he wasn't one that was like the one of the bitches of the industry, he wouldn't make it as far. If he wasn't willing to do whatever it is that they say or want him to do.
And that's a horror, bro. And this is what I be trying to get people to understand. In a clown, because he's willing to put on a dress, right? We've seen him do it. He's willing to do whatever they literally ask him to do, bro. Like completely emasculate this man.
Yeah.
And he's the representative. Like he's what the little black kids want to aspire to be. You know what I'm saying? Because he is what epitomized success or whatever. And it's related to your submission to white supremacy, if you will.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I totally agree. It's just that, I mean, if it wasn't for Kevin Hart, I mean, and people like him, because there's a lot of other people who pretty much do the same thing. They may not have grown as big as him, but I mean that's that system is run that way, and a lot of them, even some of the ones that you probably wouldn't think that, you know, I mean, what do you think about Ed Murphy?
Eddie Murphy is a horror too. But I think that Eddie Murphy, as he's grown, he came in the industry really young. So y'all got to give it to him. And every man grows. Every man, grows and learns. You know what I'm saying? And as he grew and learned, he realized what was happening and he kind of took a different route, I would say. So I'm a fan of Eddie Murphy, and look at it. Is he as big as Kevin Hart? You could say today.
Not today, but in his
No,
time when he
but
was
but
Eddie,
but
I mean when he was the age that Kevin is now, you got to
but
think
why?
this is 20 years difference.
But listen, but why? I mean, he can. Of course, he will never be as big as he
He
was when he did those two stand-ups, the
he wishes he
with the
was in
suit
Kevin's
on.
spot right now. Like like
Ex-
maybe if he hadn't taken all that time off, that maybe he would still be in
This is
that
my
position.
point. This is my point. So this is the doubt that's sown in our minds. But I don't think that's why. Eddie Murphy is super funny, and comedians as they get older, they can still keep doing their thing. It's not like rappers. And I
Hmm.
mean, you can't expect it to be the same as how like I say, he came out with Delirious and all of that. That shit was like Michael Jackson. No, he can't be that big, but he could be very relevant and even as relevant as Kevin Hart today. So you ask yourself why. He's very funny. I think it's because of the route that he took in the game. He said, "No, I'm not finna grab my ankles. I'm done grabbing my ankles, bro.
No,
I'm off that."
he grabbed his ankles his whole career.
Early career.
No, even as he got older, like he did stuff on his own. But I mean, when he was doing the clumps and the Nutty Professor stuff, um, because I mean that's really not that long ago. Like I mean he took off like what 7 8 years or something like that, maybe up to 10 years, where you didn't really see him regular. I mean he took a bunch of time off, but and yeah, I mean, just his name recognition will get him, you know, up to a certain point. But just like I don't know if you've ever heard, but a lot of times there's only one real black person, especially in comedy, that they're gonna propel to a certain level, and Kevin happens to be it. So I mean, even Eddie Murphy with his long standing, with his resume, he's not even gonna get out there and get all of the jobs like what Kevin's getting right now, no matter how good he is.
Yeah.
Kevin
Let,
is
let me
the
read.
Kevin is the
Let,
guy.
let me read some comments. Doc says trivia: Eddie G's first movie appearance was in The Last Boy Scout as the DJ in the strip club Holly Berry worked in. Let me try to think about that. The Last Boy Scout. I remember that movie. Eddie Griffin
Yeah,
was
that
in
was with
that
Damon
movie.
Wayans.
Damn it, I don't remember Eddie Griffin being in that movie. He must have been a real small part. Doc says, like Martin, spent more time in what is that? Cautum than being funny, and then took the skits on away too long.
Mm-hmm.
So basically fell out of relevance. That's what I would say what that means. Eddie Murphy sold out because he wanted to do movies his kids could watch. Respect. See, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Okay? This is what I'm saying. I wouldn't call that selling out. I'm saying he went in a different direction. He said, I'm not doing what, like I say, I'm done grabbing my ankles for y'all. Y'all been running up in me for years, bro. I'm off that now, and I'm trying to look out for my people and shit like that. Like he's on some different shit. Eddie Murphy, Raw, and Delirious. Those were the two big shows that he did. Red Fox was the same up to the day he died. See, Red Fox, popular, draw big crowds, and funny as fuck. You know what I'm saying? As an old man, because comedy don't have no age limit on it like some other forms of entertainment.
No, I
Comedians
mean,
can keep going.
well, I didn't know that that was the argument. I mean, but yeah, I mean that's definitely true. I mean, really, if you in the entertainment field, period, no matter what it is, whether it's singing, acting, uh, comedy, whatever it is, I mean that's a long-lived. Depending on how long you got, get into the what time you get into the business, but you can do it all the way into a late age. I mean, uh, what's this? Something Earl Jones. James Earl Jones and uh the woman that used to play Catwoman, and you can have a long career, but you know when we talking about I mean even those people don't get a lot of shakes at it, even at, like, you just think about it now, you don't even see Denzel that much, and he was the shit.
Yeah. I think we still see him, but he is getting older. And and then there is an argument for the opportunities for the young up and comers. But Kevin Hart is dominant though. Young
But
up and coming.
he still seems to be young, like he still um is like somewhat considered the young age, because he's in his 40s. Like, I know he's got to be, at least like 41, 42 or some shit like that. So,
He don't look it. Looks really good.
yeah, well, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. He's still, a lot of, he fits in with the young crowd still. He's very relevant. I mean, shit, all the movies he was doing with The Rock, and, you know, people like him. I mean, he does,
Yeah.
like I say, he
He's
does.
a likable person. And The Rock is
The
just
thing
kind of
about
like
it
that.
is, he's a household name, bro. Like,
But
white
I'm trying
people can play his movies and stand
right.
up in their homes around their kids, whereas you got somebody like Eddie Griffin or Mike Epps, you're not gonna you're not gonna play that in front of your kids because of the way their jokes are. Which I think Eddie Griffin, I mean, some people wouldn't agree with me, but I would let my kids watch him, because I like him as an individual, as a person. I like his message. There's always that all of his stand-ups that I've ever watched, it all leads to something of importance, and
But
but
my point is just like The Rock. He's not offensive, he's palatable. And then it's
yeah,
like we forget that he's even black. Like it's like he's such a cool guy. I
he's
just like
Samoan.
him.
He's
You know, I,
Samoan.
I like
I'm
that
That's
Samoan.
movie.
black. I,
I like
that's
that
black.
movie with the big 4x4 that he had. That was good. But a lot of this stuff is just trash. It's just fluff, happy go lucky type of like make you feel good. Oh, there's black people out there that, slavery is over. Like people aren't oppressed. Look at Kevin Hart. Look at The Rock. Look how successful they are. Look how happy
Yeah.
they are. And look how they're not offensive. Look how they don't say nothing about the black power or Black Lives Matter or none of that stuff. They always have on
Yeah.
American flag outfits and stuff. Like they're patriots. They're the model black people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, when you have somebody that, like I say, that people feel comfortable with you know, playing their music. It's just like white folks to play Drake at a white kid's party, like his radio edited stuff, why Drake is so heavily promoted? Because who likes him, and then they can promote him real well. He doesn't have body tattoos and art all over his face and arms and shit. He doesn't speak about anything offensive and things of this nature. So,
Well, he be talking about bitches and be saying some negative stuff, but I get
I
what
mean,
you're
every
saying.
rapper says that. The Migos says that too, but Coca-Cola still gave them a deal to do Sprite commercials. Nike gave them a deal
And
to do the
and and,
commercials.
and I think that's a
It's
bit
still
different
it's
though.
still different. Yeah,
The
yeah. Go ahead.
Migos is different because Drake does fit in what we're saying with the acceptable, palatable as black dude. But the
Yes.
Migos is more like the minstrel show. The Migos is more like black exploitation. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? As
and
far
they
as
have a certain different. They have a certain demographic that follows them. So I mean, they have a reach to a certain group. So when it comes to advertisement, I mean, all the other shit don't really matter because I mean, shit. What am I hearing?
I got a little background noise. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes to advertisement, when you're trying to sell your product, I mean, they will. You won't get as big a. The Migos won't get as big a deal as Drake.
Hell
You know.
fucking
Nah,
no.
You know what I'm saying?
they wouldn't get it. Nah, they wouldn't get a bigger deal. Yeah, nah.
And you gotta wonder how good is the deal with the Migos. You know what I'm saying? And we know that how the game goes. They pay these rappers to look rich and look flossy and look all this because that's the game that they're selling. Because soon as they get signed, these little bitty rappers, they be looking like they rich, and Lord knows they not. If nigga you only dropped one album, like most rappers ain't made no money until they second or third album. Eminem said that shit, and
Yeah,
he
not of their
sold like a
own
motherfucker.
because I mean they get money, but they haven't made money, and the difference is you're not profiting. Like they've pretty much given you, a
It's
budget.
a yeah, and they give you like a, what do they call it, like a deposit, because you gonna owe that money back. That's gonna be taken out of what you make. But see,
Hmm.
it's an image that comes along with this, so they want to make you look rich. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that shit may not even be owned or whatever. It'd be rented shit, borrowed shit, whatever the
Hmm.
fuck. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Some
I mean, these big companies. I mean, a lot of the stuff they can do as a write-off, and they get to drive it as a lease car, and that's pretty. I mean, that man, this shit happens way more than you know. All these people, all these rappers is talking about they driving this car and that car, whatever. I mean, shit. Just look at a good example would probably be like Meek Mill, because I mean he's complaining about his deal that he has, but he's been talking about Rolls Royces and this, that, and the other. I mean, if you really, I mean, honestly, if you only get like $1 million, $2 million of cash, whether it's a upfront, I don't care how you look at it. You really can't afford a these Rolls Royces, Bentleys, or whatever. I mean, I mean, shit. The car itself is 400,000.
Yeah, you don't have that money. You don't have that money. So like I say, it's just an illusion. A lot of times they are just appearing to be rich. These people don't have that money. They like what I wanted to say was fame doesn't necessarily equal rich. Okay.
No.
Fame doesn't translate to money. Not necessarily, unless you're able to uh use it and make it into it. You could be famous as fuck and that shit ain't making you shit.
I make more money.
Nothing.
I probably make more money than a lot of your average rappers.
And I wouldn't argue with you. I would not argue with you because them niggas, and I keep telling my daughter that shit. I'm like, these niggas are not rich, baby. They don't have money. It's just like, it just looks that way on Instagram. They don't have money. Trust me.
Yeah.
Let me read some of this. Um, Eddie Murphy sold out. I already said that. Red Fox was the man that inspired and helped Richard Pryor, and then he inspired and helped Eddie Murphy. That's true. He
Well, no.
opened the doors. Eddie Murphy helped
Well,
Samuel L. Jackson.
Inspired, yeah, that's well, I guess that's the term. I mean,
Well, there was a
so what?
rivalry. I saw a video where Red Fox didn't like Eddie, like they bumped heads. But anyways, Eddie Murphy. Let
No,
me read the rest
that
of the comment.
I thought that was Bill Cosby.
No, there's a video. Y'all can look it up on YouTube, where Eddie Murphy is telling a story about where Red Fox didn't like him, and like you know, he said some mean stuff and or whatever. Let me
Okay,
read Doc's
I didn't
comment.
see that.
Yeah, y'all type that in. It'll pop up. Eddie Murphy helped Samuel L. Jackson get started the skits in front of his stand-up movies.
Oh,
Okay, I didn't know that. That was
well,
informative. Because I
obviously,
thought, I,
Eddie and Red Fox must have cleared something up because I mean those that Harlem Nights and
yeah, that was just the moment. It was like I think it was when they met or something. It was like the first time he performed at the club or some shit like that. Eddie Murphy told the story. Yeah, yeah. Things changed over time. This was an incident that happened that I was speaking about.
well,
Doc said
okay, go ahead.
Doc says The Rock is so popular he can run for president in another 20 years and win. He can run for
He
president right
he'll
now and win.
he'll be just like Schwarzenegger. You know what I'm saying? Like he at least can go and be a governor somewhere.
New money is easy to spot, and Red Fox inspired Richard and helped him get into business. The then Richard helped Eddie.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's how it started off. They he didn't like that nigga when they first met.
Well, I guess it is. It is. I mean, just based on Red Fox's demeanor, I say he probably didn't like many people.
Yeah, they say, I mean, he's a person that you'd like to get to know, bro. If you look at history, this nigga was in the background of the pictures, a lot of fucking pictures. Like, he was back there with, like, Malcolm X or some shit. I swear to God, like, I saw
That was
pictures.
man. That was his homie. That they was used to run streets together.
Yes, so that's crazy. Imagine, bro. I would love to be able to chop it up with that dude. He was there. He was like in the background of what's going on in like the civil rights era and shit. Like that nigga was a somebody.
15-minute game?
Well, he had been around for many years. He didn't really get his break until he was like in his late 50s or early 60s. You know, like with the TV shows and stuff. I mean, because he did records for a long time, like his comedy records. He did that for a long time, but yeah, the Chitlin circuit was his home. The mainstream, he didn't see that until way late in his life, or his career, shall I say? You know, but yeah, he had been around for a long time.
Yep, and he didn't hit until an older man,
But that's what I just
right?
said. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was just saying. Like he didn't. Yeah, he didn't become big. Like he didn't hit the mainstream where he was. Like on TV or get invited to. You know, late night shows or. I don't even think he had a special until. Like. Shit, I don't know how old he was. He was very great.
Older man. So he grinded, and then if you look at history, this nigga was behind the scenes on all, so he was always on the scene. And that's what shows how the grind, because we have that in Houston. We have like an art scene, we have like a comedy scene, and we also have like an underground music scene. And because I used to be in the music scene in Houston, and it's all the same people, and you just be at these events all the time. You know what I'm saying? You foster relationships with these people, and basically that's how it goes. And like some of these people end up being somebody, like a lot of times, like sometimes, or sometimes they don't. But it's the community, you know, it's a community thing. It's really a group of people that's like artsy, weird people, and they all kind of come together doing, some weird quirky thing that they like to do. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like I never been on those comedy scenes like that, but I can imagine that they would be just like those music scenes that I was in. The same kind of thing. You know what I mean? The same
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Man, I'll have to do some more research on that. I was trying to Google that what you were talking about, Eddie Murphy and Red Fox, but
You
all they
can't find
keep
it?
talking. No, all they keep talking about is how when they first met, how close they became, how close they were, and how Eddie Murphy pretty much followed Red Fox's whole career and paid
Well,
for his
it's a
funeral and
video.
burial
It's a
and all
video
that.
of it's a video of Eddie himself. He's telling the story. And I think in the same video he was talking about how they was whispering. He said they was in a house one day. And he said he was in his house. Eddie Murphy and I can't remember, two other big names are in there in the house with him, and they're having a conversation. And then they start talking about white folks, and then they lower their voice and start whispering or whatever. And then Eddie is like, "Look at us. I'm in my house. I got servants here," and we start talking about white folks, and we lower our voice and look at this shit. So I think that was a part of that same video. It's there. I'm probably just not saying it right, you guys. You know I suck at. There's a video out there of him explaining this shit, and it's not that old. It's not that old. It's maybe less than a year, 2 years.
I
I wouldn't.
remember, yeah, I remember him talking about Rick James and how I think Rick James slapped the shit out of his brother or something, or his brother slapped
Yeah,
the shit out of Rick James.
that was a real story. That
Yeah,
shit was on fucking Dave Chappelle show.
On
yeah.
your couch.
And all those stories that Eddie Murphy's brother what's his name? So we can stop calling him Eddie Murphy's brother. Um what is his name?
I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Charlie
Charlie.
Murphy.
Charlie Murphy.
Charlie.
Charlie Murphy. He passed away too not that long ago.
Yeah.
And
It's been about 2 3 years now.
yeah. So Charlie Murphy. So all those stories he told on the Dave Chappelle show were real true stories.
Yeah, yeah, man. That shit crazy, bro. But
Darkness.
Darkness. The two darknesses. The story where he talk about he slapped him. And it's so funny how like he said he didn't even remember what he did. Like he was like he was so apologetic. It's like, man, I'm so sorry, man. I didn't know, man. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, bro. Man, I'm sorry, bro. I really didn't mean. And like them niggas was really cool too. But that's what's fucked up about that is that they partied like a motherfucker. So that's what it was
Hell
going on
yeah.
at that time. But look, both of them passed away at a young age, right? That's the reason why Dave Chappelle don't do those jokes. I saw Dave Chappelle. I went to go see Dave Chappelle at the fucking what is it called? The one downtown, the Laugh Factory, the comedy house downtown. The popular one, the big one, the popular name one.
Funny Bone.
Anyways, no, that's not it. But anyways, he said in that the crowd heckled him to do the Dave Chappelle, to do the Rick James joke, and he said no, I can't do that joke, and like he moved on or whatever, like he wouldn't because that was after Rick James had passed away. So Rick James wasn't an old man when he passed away.
I think well,
He could have lived a good while longer. That partying ass lifestyle with them heavy ass drugs, and I'm not judging anyone, but I'm just saying, like, and I think Charlie Murphy fits into that too. God forgive me, God forgive me. I don't know what I'm talking about. God
Charlie
forgive me, I don't
Murphy
know what I'm talking about.
Charlie Murphy has a medical
Yeah, no, he had a
condition.
medical condition, but that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't take care of your body. You don't drink water, and the shit can happen to me. It probably is happening to me. God forgive me again, you know. But this is, I'm just trying to face reality here. You get what I'm saying? We have to be real with ourselves. Just like the thing about cancer. You know what I mean? A lot of times we're feeding that cancer. That's the reason why, at some point it takes over us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, shit, them dudes,
I mean, not me, but
they lived a good life. So, I
Yeah,
would think that they probably accomplished things in their life that they never could have.
I'm sure them niggas
It was probably
lived.
just only an imagination that they had, and it's like this shit is now reality. So, you know, I mean, but there are some blessed ones out there that did some hardcore drugs, and they're still here today to tell
yeah,
their
I mean,
story.
just look at a
Somebody
lot of
that I watch.
these rock and roll folks, Ozzy
Yeah,
Osbourne and
yeah. Shit, fuck
I,
them. Look at Mike Tyson.
Look at
Mike
Mike
Tyson.
Tyson. Look how
Man,
in shape that nigga is.
Ozzy Osbourne, but Ozzy
he,
Osbourne, yeah,
he looks good. I mean, he looks good, but he even said he was like, I know y'all seen that commercial of me, that 30-second commercial of him, like when he was getting ready for the Roy Jones fight and this, that, and the other. He said after that, after he finished that commercial, he was in the bed for over a week.
Yeah, but that nigga is in shape. I follow them. I follow this nigga. And they're promoting the fight that might happen. I think it's gonna happen. It's gonna be what's that white boy?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul, man. They're making so much money. This is genius. I have to give it to Jake Paul and all of them. Um
yeah. Them dudes
uh
be faking like they done got knocked out by him and shit. Like, man, y'all gonna get this white boy ass whooped for
This
real.
shit is genius. These niggas is making a killing. They're making so much money. But look, I think they got it from, or maybe it's just he jumped on it. Money Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? He's in on that shit too. So like them
Well,
niggas is
he
making a
just
killing.
he well, the fight. You don't remember the fight that him and
Damn, I
I
gotta put
think
my 30
what
minutes
Jake
on.
Paul's brother,
Yeah,
Logan Paul. Him and Logan Paul just had a fight last year. I think it was
they're
last year.
making a killing. And it's all just an orchestra. And Jake Paul has been training hard. I follow him too. He's training hard. He's in really good
He
shape.
better.
This fight might really happen, and this is so genius because this is against the these are not official, like the kind of like the fights that we watch when Mike Tyson was actually fighting, because they don't this is not official type shit. These
Well, I mean, see,
they're
well,
doing this on their own.
see, the thing about it is that we our time frame, the time that we in, they weren't doing all like the exhibition fights. They used to do this shit all the time in the 20s and the 30s, and like in the past, like these types of fights happen all the time, and they're just bringing
So
it back.
it's so corporatized, right? So they corporatize the shit out of shit to make so much
Hmm.
money out of it, and only the big dogs get to make money. But now, guess what? These niggas that's being creative and creating an audience, they're
Hmm.
dodging the whole system, and they making fucking a killing on the side. You know them niggas is
Bruh,
mad. You know they salty.
bro, Floyd, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I mean, for him to be just an elementary graduate, elementary school graduate, shit, he's definitely playing the game
Very
gangster.
well, and
Yeah,
he can barely read and shit. But he's still intelligent because of the way he's playing the game. Because he's doing it,
yeah.
and
I
he's
mean,
been doing it like that the whole time. And that's why people. And I be trying to tell people, and then people. I don't get into the boxing that much, but I know enough about it.
I
So
love
like
boxing.
a lot of I like the art of it. I like the movement, the foot. It's like a
Yeah,
dance. I like that
yeah. I
part,
don't know.
but
I
I
don't
don't.
know all the up and coming boxers and shit like that, but I
Yeah,
mean,
but
yeah,
I like the art of it, but I don't like how brutally it is. And it's like people are enjoying somebody beating somebody half to fucking death, knocking their eye out and shit, like hanging the eye and shit. Like, this is what you want to see. This is entertaining you. But so I don't feel that shit. But I follow it enough to know that fucking
That shit been going
Mayweather
on.
Mayweather been playing the game for a long time, bro. These damn fights
Yeah.
been orchestrated like a motherfucker. He's
Man,
the
this dude is a
promoter.
fucking billionaire from being a boxer.
He's been the promoter. He took the game over. He's been like, remember Don King? He's like Don King and Mike Tyson in one person. You know what I'm saying? Because he's making the whole deals and everything, organizing the
Yeah.
whole thing. Even he was the promoter. He promotes the
Yeah.
fights too. So
I know.
and then he's the boxer. So he's making all of the fucking money, bro. And then on top of that, he's so smart. He orchestrates these fights. It ain't no coincidence this nigga has gone undefeated. Come on, y'all. Come on,
Well,
y'all.
no,
Don't be
say, bro.
stupid.
Now look, I'm gonna tell you, Mike Tyson made a comment not long ago. This was something that popped up on one of those little shorts on YouTube, and he was like, you know, talking shit about. It's like, look, what's his name? Ray Robinson had a 89-1, almost a 90-1 record, and that was kind of the same class that Mayweather was in. But he's, Mayweather goes around talking about he's the greatest. It's like, dude, you at 50. It's like you being, that's like mighty safe, and you know how big of a mouth Mayweather has. So it's
And
like you talk all this shit, but you're not really going to
and
like to bat with these fighters, and then you choose. And
and
he could pick and choose
right,
who
right.
who
That's
he
where I'm
wants.
going. Because see, not to take nothing away from him, he's a badass fighter now. Come on
Nah,
now.
I
When you
I
watch that nigga, it's so
he's
hard to
smooth.
touch
Say,
him.
bro,
He
he's the
his
best defensive.
defense,
He's
yes, his
he's
defense is wicked. You can't touch this dude. Like he's like a fucking ghost. He's so his footwork and the way he moves, like his upper body and his head, you can't even punch him, and he's not scared. So it's so
but
crazy. And then he'll punish you every time you try to touch him. And that's why I watched the fight. What was the guy? He's from an island. He's like a freaking duke or something over there.
Oh, you talking about
Pacquiao.
Pacquiao?
Pacquiao, and Pacquiao just swings his arm the way he be winning his fights. I be watching. I watched a few of Pacquiao's fights. A lot of times he win because he just got more punches in your ass, and because he just
Man, that
wild as fuck, and he just comes
I'm gonna
in there
tell
and
you.
he's just wild as fuck. But Mayweather ass, he's so fucking good. Even that wild
Say,
ass
bro,
Pacquiao shit. This nigga
I can
Mayweather is
I can
like,
guarantee you. I can almost guarantee you
but that was set
that
up.
that was a thrown fight.
That was set up. That's my point. The second half of Mayweather's career, most of those fights, I would say probably all of them, they were set up, and it was a deal because he is the promoter of the fight. We
Yeah,
made a deal before the fight on how this is gonna go. It was a
yeah.
dance. They orchestrated it out
It's
like a
in the. I
movie
mean,
or a TV show.
when we forget that sports, because there's certain sports that before, like, all right, because boxing is one where you know, it's entertainment. When it comes down, a lot of it is not like a real fight, and like they just really just hate or mad and this that, and the other. But the best example I would say is wrestling, because I know when I grew up, bro, I love fucking wrestling. Like we watched that shit every fucking week when especially when they had Deep South wrestling, when I don't know if you remember that period, but the Von Erichs, the I think Jim Duggan, and like a lot of the people that was the Deep South that some of them end up going to mainstream, bro. It seemed way more real back then, but that was even fake. I ain't gonna say totally fake, but they were watching out to make sure they're not hurting anybody with a lot of these moves. But when it
Yeah.
went mainstream and you got the WWF and the WWE and shit like that,
Yeah, we know wrestling is like the fakest shit ever. It's so
yeah,
fake. But they don't the people that the wrestling fans, they don't watch it for that. It's like a soap opera. So they watch it like that. That's what
yeah,
it
it's
really
a
is. It's a
bunch of
soap opera.
talking.
It's a soap opera for men. That's what it is. And then it's a little bit of homophobia shit going on too, because everybody
Hey,
walk around
well,
in their drawers. But
hey,
they do have women, so I like to look at the women. So yeah, I'll enjoy that. But man, like that dude who had that move where he set his face, he sit his ass on your face. It was a big fat dude, and that was his move. Like what the fuck?
Rakishi. You
What
talking
the
about
fuck?
Rakishi? That was.
What what the fuck is that, bro?
I don't know.
I never saw that
Rakishi. That was back.
because see
Yeah,
that see,
I remember
I
him
stopped
from when I was
watching.
in high school.
Yeah, I stopped watching wrestling for a long time. I still don't really watch it now, but years ago, like probably my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, I was like, man, this is some bullshit. And I loved wrestling, so I would still maybe take a peek every now and then, but it's like, man, I can't watch this, bro.
But real wrestling is cool as fuck. My daddy was a wrestler in high school, like the real
Yeah,
wrestling.
yeah,
Let me read the comments right quick. When Red Eddie when Red met Eddie on the set of Harlem Nights, they didn't get along at first, but they ended up liking each other, and Eddie even paid for Red's funeral.
yeah.
Tyson is a beast, not an artist, still damn near God tier. That nigga's in
See,
shape, dog.
but look, bro,
I
I'm gonna
follow
tell you
him.
that one of the reasons why people love Tyson so much was because he came to fucking he seek and destroy.
Yeah, but
You know what I'm
no,
saying?
what Doc is talking about is how fucking in shape this nigga is right now today, bro. This nigga, he is in shape, bro. Y'all go watch his go look at his Instagram.
Well, I watch his podcast. I mean, and plus,
I follow him.
yeah.
Doc says I tried out for wrestling just out of high school, would have gotten a place, but when the needles came out, steroids, I hit the door. It sucks that a lot of one thing about the NFL that a lot of people don't know, and I be talking about this because we be playing Madden all the time, but you know how like you get hurt because they got a lot of medicines out there, bro. They got a lot of fucking shit out there. They've been developing this shit. Sports medicine is a thing. People go to school for that. So, but
Hmm.
anyways, nigga get hurt or whatever. Maybe he hurt his leg or whatever it is, his back or whatever. But they ask him, hey, do you want to play? You want to play or not? You know what I'm saying? If you want to play, I can stick this in here. I can stick this needle in you. I can do this, whatever and you can go out there and play uh, for the rest of the game or whatever. But you do have an injury, and if you go play, then it's you could hurt your injury more. But you can go out there and play if I shoot you up with this right here.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And how many niggas is gonna be like, nigga, I want to go play. It's the Super Bowl or whatever.
Shit.
That's a
I
lot
mean,
of.
it might be a rival team, and they need them. It's like, hey, I know you a little hurt, but we need you to play. Blah blah blah. It don't have to be no asking. It's like they pay him. Look, we need you to play, and that might be a part of at least a verbal agreement. Is that at some points we got this medicine, blah blah blah, and then a lot of times it goes down to the trainer. The trainer is the one that decides whether or not he should play or not play. So the actual player, in most cases, is not up to them. Yeah, they could walk off the field and this, that, and the other, but there's other consequences after that. But on the field, it's the trainer that decides. The people who are on the sideline that's helping with injuries, wrapping shit up, giving the shots or whatever that needs to happen. True,
And they don't
that's
care about your long-term injuries. And the NFL got a thing where like you have to pay for your insurance after you're not in the NFL. Like they don't have a national they should have like an NFL insurance for all the past NFL players so they can go to the doctor and get taken care of because a lot of these guys have long-term injuries and a lot of times it happens from them going out and playing when knowing damn well they was hurt, but they gave them some shit to go out there and then they didn't fucking worsen their damn injury and maybe they don't feel it for 10, 15, 20 years. And then they all fucked up. And now the NFL is like, you're not in the NFL no more. You got to cover your medical bills. Hopefully you saved up some of that money we paid you back then.
It's like, damn, motherfucker, you only paid me 400,000. I mean, if you really think about the longevity of a sports player, if you're not one of those that's getting the big major endorsement deals or
Yeah,
big
not all of them are
payouts,
making a bunch of money. Yeah, not all of the
yeah,
players.
exactly. I mean, it's very few that's making the big money. Most of them are making, like the same money they could make working at the bank, as maybe top level bank, but they're not making a lot of money. And if you're not really careful, if you're not mindful from the beginning, you're gonna fuck up a bunch of that money. You're not gonna make the investments the first year that you're playing, that you really need to be able to have longevity. Because shit, man, there's shit. I mean, it it happens where shit,
Oh, you go.
just like the actor that ended up working at Trader Joe's from the Cosby Show. That happens to a lot of sports players. But the only thing about that is that they usually have some connections from the school they went to, where they'll get some kind of job somewhere. I know some guys that played basketball, went to college, they did some overseas stuff, and they come back, they can go get a job at the car dealership, you know, doing finance or something, and still make a decent salary to live on, where it's not, you know, some bullshit. But that if your mind is good enough, that's the part, because all that crashing helmets and
And I was
like,
talking about in the other episode, we was talking about how the guy, the Heisman Trophy, that guy never even graduated from college. They don't give a fuck about you like at all. Like and I went to Yates, and these niggas graduated from high school and didn't know how to read because they could play football well. Let me read these comments. Doc says, problem is they do that in college sports too. Then they get a blowout, career gone with no compensation. And then he
yep.
says, as per the league's collective bargaining agreement established in March 2020, NFL players' minimum salary measured up to 66,100,000 in 2021 season. Since 2011, salaries have risen nearly 300,000 in 10 years, according to statistics. And you know what? It's retarded how much these damn coaches and shit get paid. I was looking up one day because I like to research random shit. I looked up highest paid like salaries per state or whatever. And out of the 50 states, like 47 or 48 of them are college coaches. I mean, not college coaches, NFL coaches.
Well, I mean, shit, because they probably in the tens of millions. The college coaches usually they're still single digit millions, but still in all, to me, I mean, as a coach, man, say bro, even a single digit millions every year, that's some big pay. That's some shit.
So this is
College,
what I want people to try to understand. This is kind of like the plantation, bro. This is kind of like the continuation of slavery in a certain way. And these coaches tend to be white men. You know what I'm saying?
the majority of them.
And the money is huge. So it's like, okay, football is cool, but at the end of the day, bro, people they're just out there playing ball, bro. They're just grown men playing ball, bro. It's like a kids game that grown men are playing at a professional level. I'll give you that, but they're playing ball, bro.
or
It's a lot of
or
other
even
shit.
or even semi-pro, because I'm gonna tell you a lot when it comes to college football, especially certain conferences, bro. A lot of these kids, these young adults, are actually more at a semi-pro level, and I ain't gonna lie, I definitely feel like, I think that some of that stuff is supposed to be changing where they're able to get paid, all the time they spend and putting into it and this, that, and the other. Where, but bro, all the money that's being made, the usage of these kids, and then they're not, like if anything happens, serious to them, they out of, like, I mean, shit, they may not even have a good quality of life after.
And I've been arguing that I think they should pay the college kids because they make so much fucking money off of these college sports programs. Like these
Yeah.
programs make so much money for the universities and colleges that they should compensate because these kids have to do a whole bunch of extra work and they're playing at an extra level, and they also
Well,
put their face on fucking merchandise and shit and make money off of that shit. And
yeah,
legally, they can't pay these kids. So it's like give them scholarships or something. Like pay. I mean, some kids get scholarships, but I
yeah. A
mean,
lot of a
they
lot of them come there on a scholarship, so that's
but
already.
they should get compensation some kind of fucking way related to all that fucking money, some kind of percentage.
Well, I'm gonna tell
All
you,
that
certain
fucking
certain
money.
schools, certain schools are going to find a way to take care of their top players. But I mean, even somebody who rides the bench, but he's good. He don't get to play. He may not put in as much time as others. Still should have some kind of, because he's still spending the same time that the top guys are. With
They gotta
practice
go to
and
practice all the
it's
time.
just,
They
yeah,
and then at the
got
same
school.
time, these kids are going to school. Yeah, they got classes and they have to go to practice. They gotta go to the games and try to perform at a high level. This all
Yeah,
happening fast, and these niggas is making a killing off of it, making all this
yeah.
fucking money. The
Well,
coach is making all this money. The
well,
university making all this money.
Well,
The
what do you
coach,
what do you, what do you think about the idea that if you're gonna do it for football, then you got to do it for every collegiate sport, and a lot of the sports in college aren't making the money that like football and maybe baseball. Some of them, basketball. Different
Well
schools
then,
have.
well then you make it as a relation to how much money is being made. If the organization isn't making enough money to make payouts, then they can't make payouts. I don't think anybody will fucking argue with that shit. I
Well, I'm
really
just
don't.
saying, like somebody that's on the rugby team or because I mean, if you're playing college sports and everybody, should,
Yeah, but if your sport that the one that you're playing in doesn't bring fill stadiums, if they don't put your face on shirts, then it's different.
well, I mean,
They
I would,
putting
I guess so. I mean, but
they have commercials,
I'm
they
looking at
big
what they're
ass
saying on
commercials.
the fairness thing because like even the girls basketball may one year they might be doing especially good and this that and the other and then because I mean I just want to know like you just figure like if their sport is not making the money they don't get shit but they still spend all the same time that the football team is
Yeah,
during
but
their
it's all about
season
the
and
revenue though coming in. I mean, I feel like you should go to school for free anyways.
well, you don't
And
think it
then
should be
people,
balanced? You don't think that they
I,
should? Because I mean,
I,
for the most part, football supports every other sport, and if
yeah.
that's the case, if
Then
because I
just
mean,
spread it out.
yeah, you spread it out with all of the, like everybody has a minimum, and then others may receive even
That's
bonus.
fair. I
Yeah,
can't
I'm just saying.
argue. I can't really argue with that. I mean, the smart people sitting at the long tables would have to work all that shit out. Well, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. I can't really argue with you on that. But, whatever.
They're
If they're
making
not put,
billions. They're making
if they're
billions of
not
dollars off of just the sports. We're not even talking, adding in the whole what they make in tuition and books and you know all the other shit that they make money from. Just in
right,
sports, they're
that's
making
the
billions of
issue.
dollars.
Because, like I said, I think that you should go to school for free, anyways. That's how they do it in other countries, and people seem to forget. But universities are a business, and they're there to make profits. They have fucking investors, and they're on the stock market. And don't get it twisted. Doc says they should get a cut of merchandising the way they retain amateur status and have all the choices that allows. Because if they putting your face on the damn baseball caps and hoodies and shit,
well, yeah,
you in commercials.
Everybody's not getting an endorsement, but if you are, I think you should have a certain percentage of whatever your stuff is selling, because I mean, certain jerseys are gonna sell more than others because of the popularity. I mean, usually you're gonna have a good quarterback that's that they're gonna look at, or I don't know, maybe the point guard and center or whatever for football. Like I said, the quarterback and a receiver.
Wait, hold on. Deuce, did you just put a bunch of fucking creamer in your damn coffee, bro? I didn't get to see it. I was distracted. Did you? No. Did you just put 22 creamers in there?
Nah, I put this in there.
It don't have no sugar. What is that?
No, Premier Protein.
What, you got some Baileys?
Premier Protein.
Okay.
No sugar. You see that, nigga? You see that? 1 gram of sugar, motherfucker.
Well, are you gonna put some?
We love you, man.
They don't even have no creamer in here, though.
That's the only reason why you did that shit, then, huh? We love man. You. We love you, man. That's all, bro.
What truck stop you at?
At Love's over here. What's this? Nacogdoches? Lufkin? One of them.
Okay. Okay, the one with the pop. Well, I mean, with the Chesters.
Arby's in it.
Is it Arby's?
Yeah, it has an Arby's in it. And then they're not even 20. Yeah, it's the new one that they built just past the old one in Lufkin.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
oh, this is Lufkin. This is Lufkin. It's right there on the edge of Lufkin. Lufkin going into Nacogdoches. It sits on. Matter of fact, it sits on the northbound side of 59.
Yeah. Right, but they got that little overpass that you had to go down the side of to be able to get into the truck stop.
Yeah. It's back. It's just north of that. Damn, what is that little? I used to remember the name of it. It used to be an old drive-in movie theater up here.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's right here off of 59. It's just past the old one in Lufkin. When you go around the curve, past up Peterbilt and all of that, going north, you come around the curve, go down the hill, and as you start topping the hill again to hit the new bridge and all that they got, it sits over on that side, northbound side.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, y'all headed to Arkansas, or y'all coming back?
Oh, we coming back. Yeah, I made it to Arkansas this morning, or yesterday morning. Yeah, it's Saturday. I made it there Friday morning. It was snow everywhere on the ground, too.
Hey, I want y'all to.
I was about to ask. So what we got for today? I don't remember the title.
Yeah, I'm about to get back into that. Well, the title of the show today is "The Land of the Free to Suffer." But I wanted to go back to some comments that we made earlier about Charlie Murphy and Rick James and them. Deuce said something about like them having a quality of life and like to live versus being alive. And then you think about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and then it's like, or even Tupac. Like, what I'm saying is the balance between being alive and to live, and then the quality of life. Because we were saying about, because I said that they was, possibly them using drugs had an impact on them, passing away earlier. And then Deuce was like, Well, they probably lived their life. You know what I'm saying? They lived a good ass life. You know what I'm saying? Imagine being Rick James in the fucking 70s or whatever. That nigga really was the shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I
Yes,
mean,
and
like I
it's
said, go ahead, my bad.
no. Oh, you said in the 70s, or because I think a lot
What
of
was it?
the 80s, the
The
early
80s.
80s.
The early
Yeah,
80s.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it probably was like the late 70s, early 80s and stuff. Yeah, but what was
Well, I'm
the
just like to live versus being alive. Like
well,
just because you're alive doesn't mean you're living. And like living sometimes is kind of living on the edge or taking risks. You know what I'm
well, I
saying?
mean Tupac. I mean, if we're saying it like that, Tupac was living, like he lived. But I mean, at the same time, you know, it becomes questionable for I mean for not even just two I mean for a lot of them, and they're living. I mean a lot of them are living a life that they know that they are accustomed to. You know, of course, I mean you're talking about health, we all should be focused more on that, but I mean when you think about Rick James and dying in his 60s, yeah, you could say that, you know, that's a shame, or you know, yeah, he should have done better, whatever. But man, that dude lived his life. He lived. I mean, you know, yeah, he could have stayed here to 80, but I mean, is it really, you know, that age really? Because I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I want to live a long life. I want to be here as long as I can, as long as I'm, you know, able to kind of take care of myself. I mean, I don't want nobody wiping my ass. Once I can't wipe my ass no more, I'm done. I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying?
So
But
like that's my argument. Like quality of life and like impact on the world and like how we judge. Because remember we were saying before like that the guy that lived to be 99 years old that he lived life better than somebody like Tupac who died when he was like in his early 20s. And that's an argument.
well,
And then
it
it's
is. Well, yeah, no, I would say that is somewhat of an argument. Like, I mean, it's that's debatable because you know, yeah, Tupac left at a young age, but I mean, you know, it still was his destiny. Like, I mean, he lived his life like, you know, he would, you know, die. You know, he took so many risks to where that's where it landed him at dying at a early age. So I mean, I think he lived. I'm sure he wish he could have stayed around a lot longer. But I mean, look at the lifestyle he lived. He was reckless.
yeah.
So I
So, but
mean,
then you got to think about his kids and his family members. Like they would have liked to
and
have him around for a little while longer, just to be
okay,
there to help support, or just to be there for emotional support, somebody
yeah,
to talk to.
I'll be certain of that. I'm sure they all wish he was still around, but you know, I mean, I don't know because you haven't the what this conversation really is quantity over quality, and you know, like I said, I mean, regardless of how you look at it, each one can be debatable because somebody who's you know played it safe didn't have no eating. You know, they ate healthy. They had no fried chicken. They didn't really enjoy life the way that others may enjoy it that might not live as long as others. Because I mean, if all you gonna you eat is damn leaves and shit off the tree and you able to live to 99, you know how exciting is that? You know,
Exactly. And did you
you
and then
don't
you got to
drink.
ask the question: did you actually live, or were you just alive? You know,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the question. You know, And did God put us here to just be alive, or did God put us here to live?
That's
Hey, bro, can I have one more shot?
that's that one. I don't look. I mean, I think the enjoyment of life, like that's one of those things. And like I said, some people live a moderate, some live a safe, some live, you know, s- almost I say, maybe an extreme level of but so I mean, whichever one you choose, you know I mean that's on them. And like I said, I mean there's people who play it safe and still leave out of here early, just owns maybe some
Did,
on some
and,
bullshit.
and didn't even get to live. And that's the thing with Corona and all of that. Like people being afraid to die. Like I feel like I said it in one of my previous videos, but like, in what religion out there does it tell you to be afraid to die? To be afraid of death. You know, none of the religions tell you that. But we running around here, I mean, okay, you want to be around for your kids and whatever, and do whatever you finish doing, whatever you was trying to do. But we all know we have a limited time here. So we know the inevitability of death is coming. So, I think the ancients, our ancestors, we sat well with that. We accepted that. You know what I'm saying? Today we are trying to like fight against that, and it's like another part of us fighting against nature, and escaping reality.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, there's so many variations of life that can be lived. And you know I'm not gonna judge on anybody's way of doing it, because I mean, shoot, and you never. I mean, how can we judge? 'Cause I mean, it might be exciting for somebody who gets off from work, goes home, and just turns on the TV, um, you know, doing whatever it is. That might, like, that's for them. That might be living. Like that's we're putting our standards of what living is on other people. So I
Yes,
mean,
that's my point. So, and it's all about perspective. You know what I'm saying? Who's right,
yeah.
who's wrong? Like that's where we get lost when we even start thinking about right and wrong. Let me play this right quick.
And any natural immune system develops a natural immune.
I don't know what he's gonna say. I haven't seen this.
Today's Black History fact is: did you know that melanin is a precious and important resource for all life and most of
Hmm.
modern science and space technology, even? And did you know where they're getting melanin from now? Black people who are dying in record numbers in hospitals and other places that they didn't have to go to. Did you know that the black body has a supreme immune system? And any natural immune system develops a natural immunity to illnesses like COVID. In fact, taking shots and other drugs actually makes viruses stronger. Like if you keep spraying Raid on bugs, they get stronger. But a strong immune system, like a healthy and clean system, makes you safe. And if you've already had COVID, you've built up immunity. So don't go to the death camp or send your family there. They're going to steal your melanin. I think this guy about history again. Today's Black History.
Hmm.
That was controversial, to say the least. Um,
It could be controversial, but I believe it. I ain't gonna. Let me be quiet. I don't want to get on that topic.
yeah, that's a dangerous one right there. Well, let's talk about
I
reparations.
believe there's some truth to it, though.
Yeah, there's some truth there.
We're gonna talk about what?
Reparations.
Ah, okay.
Reparation.
Interesting conversation. So
Reparation.
what about it? Like,
Well, I think that a lot of people they feel like there's no argument. Like in modern society, they're like black people don't have no. The conservatives, a lot of them are saying black people don't have anything to complain about anymore. That civil rights era is over, slavery is over. We're in 2022 now. Everybody has equal opportunity here in the United States, and
all
you know,
lives.
so we we're all on equal level playing field. So you have the same opportunity that my little white kid has to make pursuit of happiness, and you know what I'm saying, the American dream.
That's from, but that's strangely enough, that's coming from a point of view that's not actually experiencing the black experience, having that black experience. There's a lot of black detractors that, you know, are probably paid by the other side that might say some stuff like that, but you can't trust them anyway. My thing as far as everything that you just mentioned, that what you just said, those are all false, like total lies, because none of those things are true. It's just, I mean, it's just not. I mean, there's still no equality. Um, you know, we might feel it in certain situations, but as a whole, no, there's no equality. Um, what was one of the other ones you mentioned? Slavery. Shit. I mean, the majority, if not all, not, I can't really say all, but the majority is still experiencing slavery, and they might not be putting a whoop on your back, or um, because a lot of it, is how your employer treats you, because it's more psychological, and the punishment there. I mean, shit. There's people leave from work and
Starve.
go, not just starve, but shit, they might leave work and go kill themselves because the boss is a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Go, go live under the bridge. Just
Yeah.
some
say
of them do.
fuck it.
This is
Some of
something
them
that I
do.
see right here. It's something that I see like that here. They don't treat me bad. They actually treat me pretty good. But I have seen people get put in positions over me that is nowhere near as talented and knowledgeable, and have the education and the experience that I have doing this. They have been put in positions that they don't deserve.
Well,
And I think it goes back to, and not trying to throw the race card out there, but I think it goes back to skin color and, the sexism that happens in corporate entities and anything else.
yeah, I have a theory about that, because if the people who are talented, who really have the talent, they're the ones that's needed to actually execute in, the actual in that job. I mean, some of these, the people that get put in the position as a manager, they could never do it as well as the one that they hired to do that, to actually execute the ins and outs of a job. So them being a manager, I guess you could say, is really a way for them to at least just have a job. But in most cases, the person who has the talent, I mean, the business wouldn't operate if it wasn't for those guys. Like, I can't, you know, think of another way to say it, because it's, I mean, that's really just how a lot of things work. And I know some people who like are smart as hell, you know, and you know, they're not really fit to be managers because, you know, that's not their thing. Like to, you know, coordinate, you know, like they actually need to be doing that actual task, that job in order to really be, you know, be the best them. And you know, you can train a manager to be able to do some of the, you know, I guess you could say the management stuff, putting times, you know, like schedules, and like a lot of that stuff is really simple. It's not as hard as you would think. It's, you know, but the job, the task, like the actual job is much harder. You have to be a special type of person to be able to complete it. So you know, you being the operator or the person who's doing the task, you're the more important person there. So I mean, just because of the title manager, you can't, you know, I don't think people should get caught up in that because they're not necessarily the most important person there.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't get caught up on it. To be honest with you, for me to go from a driver to a manager, that would be a
You're
foul.
breaking up a little bit.
What about the hear now?
Well, there's also some distractions in the background, so that might be a part of it too.
Okay, what about now, Pat? Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was saying, for me, I don't even look at that management position, man. That's just for somebody that wants that title. Because for me to go into management, and as of what I'm doing now, that would be about a $45,000 pay cut off
Exactly.
top.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you know, just because of, you know, this person gets the manager job does not mean that they're actually above you. You know, they're completing tasks that they're able to complete, and a lot of times, yeah, they're on a salary that, you know, they know what they're gonna make every time. For you, based on your performance, you get paid, you know, because of that. So you have a higher potential. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I never really look at that as any, you know, like a big deal. Let them get that manager position. They're not, you know, because like I'm gonna tell you, my brother for years, he's been working in the restaurant business for probably 30 years or so now. And you know, since his 20s, and he's like 52, 53, something like that. So he's been in the catering and restaurant businesses for, you know, 30 years or more. And he just recently, like a couple of years back, got a manager's position. But he was the guy that, like, it wouldn't make sense for that business to actually put him in a manager position where his actual skills was what they needed him for, him being, you know, on the floor and, you know, still somewhat kind of managing, telling people how what to do and this, that, and the other. He did kind of work as a manager, but like a working manager, you know. But like now, you know, he still does a lot of the same stuff, but you know, lately I think it's more so because of you know, employment, like actually having people there that can, you know, do the task. But when you got a skill, you're most likely, you know, overqualified for the management position.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Sometimes you end up making more money than them too without having to deal with all the damn headaches that they have to deal with. A lot of people
Exactly.
just want the damn status that comes along with the, you know, the title.
Yeah.
Let me play this. Wait, let me read comments. Oh, it's just one. And then there's Keith Richards, who has consumed enough drugs to kill Ohio, but is still making music at 78. And I make more money as a server than a bar manager.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I mean they're
let
getting hourly, most of them hourly or set salary, and shoot, once you do that, you're pretty much out of the competition. Like you don't really have any true growth potential if you're living on a salary. But if it's based on your performance, like you'll have some some downs, but you're probably gonna have more ups.
me get into the meat of the show. We already been on a rant for like almost 2 hours, but let's get to some. I don't want to put you to sleep, so I'm gonna just play little bits and pieces of this, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah,
To record
let's
this
do that.
lecture from my American history courses and do all the fancy audio work I've done in the past. It's meant for an intro level college class. I actually give it in both halves, one at the end and another at the beginning, since they divide these courses by Reconstruction. Hopefully, you'll find it enlightening. Thanks to all my patrons, especially Kevin, initially fought to preserve the fragile Constitution, that cause eventually morphed into one of abolition. Dealing with all of these newly freed slaves and how to weave them into American society constituted nothing less than a revolution. But that revolution remained unfinished. In a noble attempt to implement civil rights and redefine the role of race in America, citizens grew tired of the tumult, and by 1877 Reconstruction ended in a dismal backroom deal, simply so that the ruling party could remain in control of federal power. The North may have won the Civil War, but the South won Reconstruction. The very definition of Reconstruction and what it meant was always contested. Historians to this day still argue over its meaning. The first
Wait. He already said a lot. He said the North may have won the war, but the South won Reconstruction. And then it was like unfinished business. What did he say? Unfinished. I think the root to a lot of the way society is today in America is related to Reconstruction and what happened then. And I think for us to right the wrongs of America today, the United States today, for Black people, you have to go back to Reconstruction and look at that and where it went wrong, and try to right the wrongs of that era.
Yeah. Um, I had a couple thoughts that I guess that had went through my head. Now, I guess when we think about Reconstruction, because I think there's a misconception and misunderstanding about it as well. I think that it was supposed to be something that make things better for all, but then just like what we see today, I think we're still experiencing some of the same, like some of the effects from it, but then we still have these people that consider themselves doing things that's gonna evolve the country and send it to a better place, but then it's still laws and lawmakers that are actually getting in the way of it at any time, at every turn. And it's not a blue or a red thing. This is something that's happening on both sides. I mean, um
Ever since the beginning.
ever since the beginning, bro, they've been playing this game, bro. Like they're I see that, like, they were doing the same exact stuff they're doing today, that they still, like, they try to make it seem like they're looking out for the people, all people, but they're also at the same time finding loopholes where it won't necessarily benefit all people.
Right. So unfinished revolution, that was the thing he said that struck me. And I
There,
think about Black Lives Matter. Think about right now in the news, those chicks, those three
hmm
leaders of the uh the Black Lives Matter organization, they're all like under investigation, I think.
Yep.
They're gonna go to jail.
Well, I don't know if they're gonna go to jail because the people at the very top, uh, who's like one of the first top supporters. I don't even think he lives in the U.S. anymore. Like, I mean, but still in all,
It's three
um,
chicks that I saw in the picture. It's three chicks, three
now
black women.
now they may go to jail,
and
at
and, and,
least.
and the money is missing, and it's unaccounted for, so they are in trouble.
Yeah, and which I'm glad they are. Like, I mean, it was a scam from the beginning because, like I always try to point out, like I've been a supporter of the ground troops of Black Lives Matter, and but at the same time, the organization that supposedly, that's putting these rallies and different things together, um the
Yeah,
yeah, when
the
there's a
events.
yeah, these different events, and when they're marching on up and down the street, they allowed a lot of things to happen that should have never happened. Is outside, because I mean, we can throw the financial part in there, but you know I think purposely they allowed, like, when it's Black Lives Matter, because nobody's really looking at the black or white thing, blacks, whites, and all that coming together and marching for something that's right. But then they had other groups that were allowed to come in and cause chaos. So it's like, and from what I understand, like, they were paying these groups to come in and do this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you're getting a bunch of donations, you know, a bunch of support from all over the country as well as other countries, because a lot of people really want to see a lot of the stuff that's happening in the US, uh, to black people, and I guess underprivileged, but this was more so for this, was supposed to be for black people, as a whole. And they pretty much manipulated the people. They took they pretty much, what's the best way to say it? Like, they took advantage of a situation that was meant to help people, for them to make money for themselves.
And it's like the whole story every time. Let me
First
Yeah.
play
and most
this.
obvious of these is post war rehabilitation, as in rehabilitating Southerners from rebellion all the way back to the citizenship which they had renounced by betraying their country. There was, of course, also concerns over economic recovery. The economy of the North wore down because of the war, and Southern infrastructure faced utter destruction as a repercussion for their insurrection. Some congressmen even called on punishing the South, using military occupation to cause even greater harm than the war itself. Though this never came to be, many Southerners will pretend that that is in fact what Reconstruction was, which is a constitutive part of a mythology they created after the war called the Lost Cause, an ideology which would build up over the course of Reconstruction as a way to memorialize Southerners' rebellion and deny the ignoble ends for which they fought. But Reconstruction was not so easily defined. In fact, many historians debate over its geographical location. For the most part, when we speak of Reconstruction, we are referring to southern states, specifically the ones which had rebelled. But Reconstruction affected both the North and West. For this, historian Elliot West calls larger geographic inclusion Greater Reconstruction, as the US over this period sought to define who was included or excluded in U.S. nationhood by their race. But the most prominent historian on Reconstruction is Eric Foner, who called it America's unfinished revolution. For to him, it was a debate between whether states had the right to discriminate against their own citizens, or did citizens have civil rights that states could not breach? Civil rights are about people avoiding lawful discrimination, such as segregation and prejudice, while states' rights are about what a government is allowed to do. These two concepts often come into conflict with one another. This became particularly prominent for the rebel states who had to negotiate their way back into the Union. For after all, readmission to the Union meant that Southern states would be able to post their own congressmen and vote for president. How
Okay, again, that was a lot in a short little bit.
Oh yeah, he goes in. I ain't gonna lie. Like I had to watch it twice because like some of the stuff could uh, go right past you. But I I think that part where they're talking about, you know, trying to decide if, you know, it was okay for states to manipulate the, you know, the supposedly freed slaves, or if they had, you know, civil rights that was protected federally. The fuck you mean? You,
Yeah, and basically arguing, are they human or not?
yeah, bro. Like, I mean, this whole thing kind of angers me to a certain extent because it's like these fucking yahoos that, you know, they parents. I don't know if at that point if it was grandparents came over here stealing shit and this, that, and the other, and you're claiming to be trying to make things right, but you still want to find a way to step on people's necks.
And so back to the thing is, the land of the free to suffer, and then the idea is reparations. You know, um, when do you when do you how do you like how do you forgive the murderer of your father? You know what I'm saying? How do you make that right?
Well, that's one of those things that's just not right. And the one who says it is, either they're just waiting for the next chance to chop their neck off, or you know you just a, I guess the term, a coon. You know, I mean, some people do, I guess, just want to, you know, I mean, we just want a bunch of the madness to be over with. And, you know, I think most black people are still angry is because it's like, damn, we didn't let the shit go. You know, we've, you know, practically forgiven you. Yeah, we still got an issue that the shit happened. But, like, all right, you know, if you stop being a fucking asshole, uh, you know, we could actually move forward from this. But you constantly trying to make me relive all of this shit over and over and over again. So I mean, and of course, I mean, I think everybody should atone for their sins. And yeah, you may not have physically been there, but you definitely still reap the benefits from, you know, and I mean, of course, it's not every single, you know, person that really truly benefited, you know, as far as white people that benefited from slavery, because a lot of them was in the same position. What I mean, whether you consider them slaves, indentured servants, or whatever they held, you know, yeah, no, all of them didn't benefit, but these top corporations that, you know, are running the show now, just like they ran the show back then. It's the same paradigm, except that, you know, they stopped putting, you know, well, I mean, to some extent, they stopped putting their hands on you, or whooping you, or, you know, dragging you, hanging you. I mean, a lot of that stuff, to some extent, you know, that because I mean, actually, they just found other ways to slay you. You know, they got
And
the police force to do it. Like I mean, honestly,
Eh,
there's not much that has really changed,
Not much have really
if it
changed since
if any.
Reconstruction. That's that's what I say. We have to go back to Reconstruction. And I have to say that we know that it was a portion of the bourgeoisie that upheld slavery and like
Just
kept it
like now.
going, just like
Just
now. And so like people that were propelled up by the system in like the Caribbean or parts of the South, some of these plantations were run by black people, even though it appeared that it was white people. The white people owned it, but it was ran by black people.
well, honestly, if I'm gonna be honest, like that's pretty much what happened even in the government. Because I mean, it wasn't a full takeover. The only ones that the like the when they ran the coup, I mean, the ones that they end up killing were the ones that stood strong on their principles. But there were other black people who pretty much were like saying like they were making the white people their new face of government where they still were in power. You know,
So
if you
that
really
That's why I love history, and that's why I feel like you have to dig and you have to read between the lines because you always got to remember that whatever you're reading, somebody wrote that and it's from their perspective. So you're going to have to try to think about, you add other information, you add other input, what's going on at that time, and then you also think about people today because this is what I always try to say. Like the shit that niggas is doing today is the same shit niggas been doing forever or whatever.
yeah.
So, think about it in relation to today and then try to make it sense. So when you read those historical events or those historical stories, think about like because like somebody is telling you a story, right? And you
Hmm.
you know this person, right? So when they tell you the story, certain parts that they leave out and certain parts that they lie about, you already know. Like you don't have to ask them or whatever. You already know what really it was. You know what I'm saying? Even though that's not what they said. You get what I'm
Well,
saying?
well, I'm gonna tell you, there's ways like I'm waiting to order these couple of books that which like really show a lot of what I'm about to say. But if you really think about a lot of the treaties that happened in the late 1400s, early 1500s, that allowed the Europeans to come over, and this is not based on race, because European is not necessarily just a white person, and even during, especially during that time. Maybe these days it's majority that, but
But
however,
even today, it's
it's
still
still that.
very.
Yeah, I mean, it's still mixed. I mean, but there are much smaller group of black people in Europe now than it is there today. Like back then, there was, you know, the percentages were equal, or maybe there was even more blacks in Europe then. But besides the point, because either way, there were treaties that were being written that allowed certain countries to be able to, of Europe, to come to the Americas, or even going into different countries and do what they were doing. Portugal, Spain, France, like all the big names that we still hear today, they were the ones that were given permission by uh I would say Morocco at the time, because it was the headquarters um back then. The sultan, or whatever his title was, that allowed them to come over and be able to do business. Because I mean, even the flag that we see today is not really a flag for a country. It's a flag that was a commerce flag. You know, something to show that they existed, and they're you know, something that they could be protected under, but it was also through someone who had a higher power. So it's It's bro. I mean, if you really go down that rabbit hole, I mean, bro, like it's amazing and fucked up all at the same time.
That pretty much sums it up. Let me play a bit more.
How they would be readmitted hinged on this question of civil rights. As the control of what it meant to be reconstructed moved from the presidency's definition to Congress's, it also moved from a state's right to rejoin the Union into a broader fight for civil rights. But in the North and West, labor itself became interwoven into this question of civil versus states' rights. And the people who came to power during the Civil War was the Republican Party, who had initially campaigned specifically on freeing labor in the North and West, keeping the territories free of slavery, and expanding a liberal regime across the continent. But due to Reconstruction, Republicans lost that revolutionary fervor. For while there were always moderates in the party, the troubles of Reconstruction badly fractured it, losing any sense of cohesion, eventually leading to the Democrats, who were indeed the conservative party of the 1860s, 70s, and 80s, taking up the mantle of reform, eventually leading to a 20th century switch in the parties. For now, the Democrats are far more liberal than their Republican adversaries, which was quite the opposite of the 1860s and 70s. But following the Civil War, Republicans were the dominant party of the North, and Democrats, for a time, were associated with the South's deeply reactionary purposes. Reactionary means to be so deeply conservative that they oppose any kind of social liberalization, such as civil rights, in order to bring back a supposedly better state of society which previously existed. Democrats sought to redeem the South to its antebellum glory days, antebellum meaning before the war. They opposed any civil rights achieved during this time. The so-called Southern values these redeemers pursued was ultimately that of white supremacy. For a time, blacks in the South managed to keep Republican liberalism in power, but by the end of Reconstruction, Redeemer Democrats took hold, controlling the Solid South with their conservative and reactionary politics for another century. Lincoln himself was much less radical than most people realize. Though he had his radical sympathies, the Republican Party choosing him in 1860 was specifically for a more moderate voice compared to their previous candidate of only 4 years prior. So when it came to Reconstruction, he sided with states' rights, trying to make an easy reinstatement for Southern states to come back into the Union. And his second inaugural speech, he said, "Yet if God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword, as was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgment of the Lord are true and righteous altogether."
Now, what the hell did Lincoln mean by this comment? And now, this sounds like reparations to me, but reparations by blood. What do y'all think?
Um, you said reparations by blood.
He said, "Yet if God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsmen, 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the last shall be paid by another drawn by the sword, as well as said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgment of the Lord are true and righteous altogether."
Yeah. I mean, I say that's true, but I mean, when you have people like, like throughout this time, there's people who agree with slavery. There's people who, it's just like, okay, that's just what, that's just our paradigm. And there was also abolitionists, people who were totally against slavery. So I mean, there's people that's trying to get this thing working, but you still have people who are saying, okay, yeah, we should do, like backhanded deals, where like, okay, yeah, we need to fix this thing. We're gonna do things right, but ultimately they're trying to find a way to get around actually completing what following up on their word. So I mean,
And that's where he said, "Shall be paid by another drawn by the sword," because it's like, okay, you make these people pay 200, work 250 years.
mhm.
You know, um, it says until every drop of blood drawn from the last. So it's like you whoop these people and force them to work, and they bled and sweat and cried into the soil, and you don't want to pay them back. It says shall
Well,
be paid by another drawn by the sword.
well,
Because go ahead.
I feel like partially that's saying one thing and another, because I mean, what's the Bible verse where they talk about the child suffers the parents' afflictions or whatever, or um
Yeah, something like that.
to that extent. And that's like, okay, this shit has been going on for hundreds of years. The people who did wrong, they're long gone. They've, spirit has, you know ascended, or passed on to another body, however. But these people, you know
Their
made a problem.
descendants,
And the descendants, they're still, some of them, are just as implicit or complicit as
because
their
because one
forefathers.
one part of this I have to say, because we were talking about DNA and DNA being memory being passed down from your ancestors,
Yeah,
and how like
that's not
your
the conversation we had. That on, it was in a good sense or whatever. But it works both ways. It doesn't matter. It doesn't just work for the good part. It works for the bad part too. So, the ancestors that has, the of the other side, shall I say, they've been handing down that same thing, so that's how it still kind of it reflects back on them. That's why the argument of, when the reparations conversation comes up, is like, well, I didn't enslave you. Well, I mean, I guess that's debatable, or that's something that really can be talked about, because a lot of people are truly still enslaved, whether it's mental slavery or whatever.
yeah.
Slavery is still happening.
But even besides that, those companies still have that money in their bank accounts. Like, this is what I like to scream over and over, that I think people don't really understand. Like, money does not evaporate, bro. That money that they made off of those slaves, these were commercial companies. These were corporations. The
Yeah.
names just changed. A lot of these companies still exist today. These families still have that money that they made over hundreds of years of people working for fucking free. If you opened a business right now and you could have somebody to work for free, like Pat, if you had people to work for free for you, you could have 5 trucks on the road or more.
Or more. Because I mean, shoot, you got a good team of people. I mean, trucking is a tough business, especially when you get to multiple trucks and trying to keep people, rolling, especially when you're a new guy. But it's you know, either way,
If you didn't have to
it's,
pay them niggas, you didn't have to pay them nothing, and you could whip
man,
them if they was late.
yeah, something that's right. What I say is right in the law, but it's allowed. That was the thing. It didn't matter. Like, it was your property to do as you will. You can't. Nobody could tell them that they couldn't do what they were doing, because they owned it. It's not necessarily how we are. Well, we can choose whether we're gonna work for somebody or not. No, they went and picked you out there. Yeah, that's that big motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It'd be
it's
perfect for carrying rocks, the heavy ones. The ones I don't like to lift.
Well, it looked like he got a strong back. He can keep bending over, picking my damn cotton, or you know, tobacco, or whatever it was that you know they were into.
But I can't stress enough how that money hasn't evaporated. The money is still in
Uh,
these damn bank accounts. It's been
no,
passed down to the kids, and then the kids' kids.
that I
How
mean,
come they
and
were able to give the Indians so much money, but they just shit on black
Right.
people?
Well, that's
let
our
me
argument
point
is
that.
reparations. The Indians got a raw deal, but at least some tribes got like land or they got like these
Well,
casinos. There's a
well,
bank. One of the big banks is a Native American bank.
Well, let me point this out because one of the things I think people forget or don't, because you hear the term Native American, you got to realize what a lot of those tribes end up turning into because of the Dawes rolls. We had what
Right.
we end up having the $5 Indian. So I mean, these
Mm-hmm.
are these are people that were
Just showed
actually
up
from Europe that claimed to be
talking about I'm Indian.
yeah, that claim to be Indians, these Native Americans, that's really not, and they're getting money shifted from the government to these tribes for them, not the real Indians or Native Americans. It was the money. The money was going to these people that claimed to be Indians. So it's still a scam that's happening. So when they do send this money to these different tribes, they wasn't trying to help those tribes. They were trying to help their own people.
It's crazy. That sounds just like how when they be sending the weapons to the other countries, or when they be sending the food to the other countries. Let me play a bit more.
Despite this harsher sounding rhetoric, Lincoln's actual Reconstruction sought to end slavery, but nothing further, thereby only pushing for reunification. As early as 1862, he began placing military governors over rebel states until they could rejoin the Union. In fact, his vice president, Andrew Johnson, was originally military governor of Tennessee before becoming vice president in
Crook.
1864. In 1863, Lincoln revealed his 10% plan, which required 10% of men from a rebel state to take what was called the Ironclad Oath. This oath read, "I do solemnly swear or affirm that I have never voluntarily borne arms against the United States, since I have
Shit
been
did.
a citizen thereof, that I have voluntarily given no aid, countenance, counsel, or encouragement to persons engaged in armed hostility thereto, that I have neither sought nor accepted nor attempted to exercise the functions of any office whatever under any authority or pretended authority in hostility to the United States, that I have not yielded a voluntary support to any
It's
pretended
wordy
government,
as fuck.
authority, power, or
You
constitution within the United States, hostile or inimical thereto. And I do further swear or
and they
affirm
couldn't
that
find
to the
it.
best of my knowledge and ability, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign
Foreign
and
and domestic.
domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental
Freely.
reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. To Southern chivalry, this was essentially denouncing that the Confederacy had ever even existed in any legal form, denouncing its legitimacy altogether. Congress, in fact, attempted to raise that 10% limit all the way to 51% with the Wade Davis bill in 1864, though Lincoln vetoed it. He thought 10% of a state was onerous enough. For a state to become part of the Union again, he also required that they follow through with emancipation and ratify the 13th Amendment, which ended slavery in the United States. The Confiscation Acts of 1861 and 62 had allowed him to confiscate slaves as contraband from the rebels, leading to the 1863 Emancipation Proclamation. By 1865, the passage of the 13th Amendment was guaranteed and ratification just around the corner. This essentially extended Reconstruction into the border states in the West. where slavery had remained legal all the way until 1865. In fact, other forms of coerced labor in the West had to be outlawed by bills such as the Anti-Peonage Act of 1867. Finally, the last part of Lincoln's Reconstruction was the establishment of the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, known simply as the Freedmen's Bureau. It administered programs to help newly freed slaves through grants, land, school, employment negotiations, and bringing families back together.
Pause.
That's, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, the people during that time that did take that oath, bro, it was they lied. Like, I mean, they were lying
Yeah.
right off. I mean, if you think about the South, because of course everybody, it wasn't everybody, but the ones that they set for, like they pretty much forgave for all the stuff that they did, you know, just recently before to, like they went into war to hold up slavery, um succeeding from the Union, like all these things they did, like you were terrorists at that point to the
The
federal.
government and the
That
Constitution.
Yes, they took up arms, they aided each other. So I mean, like, what are you talking about? Like, how? I mean, none of them should have even been able to become part of the fold of government anymore. They should have got their heads knocked off.
Yeah, but it's a sensitive subject because at the end of the day, these are brothers, uncles, cousins, dads.
Yeah, that pretty much supported that same bullshit. Like, these people knew that the shit was wrong, but they would fight for it because I mean, just because it benefited them. Like, it didn't really matter the moral, there was really no moral thought process for them because it was more greed. Like, it's like, well, damn, I don't want to get out there and do that fucking work. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't want to pay for it. Like, they felt like they deserved it.
Right. The argument is the preservation of my way of life. So that sounds perverse to me. I ain't gonna lie. But when you think about it, though, a lot of people, I mean, that's like the universe, right? That's like nature. That's right. Like my way of life, the way I want to live. It just so happened that it is, you know, I'm sub I get my substance from you, from another being or from another, because like different organisms in nature do this, right? I'm trying to be careful with my words here. I'm trying not to piss people off. But in the movie The Matrix,
Go ahead,
um,
Kevin. Go ahead, Kevin Hart.
the movie The Matrix, the speech that Mr. Smith gives when he's talking about, he said, I was trying to figure out what humanity was. I was trying to categorize it. And he said, you're not really mammals. He says, all other kinds of mammals find a balance and within their environment, and then their numbers subside based on the materials available for that environment. So it balances out at some point. He said, but you humans, y'all don't do that. He said, y'all spread. He said, y'all spread and use up all the resources that are available. And then the only way for you to survive is to spread to another area. And he said, what organism is like that? He said, it's a what did he say? A parasite, a disease, a virus. He said, you're not really mammals.
Well, I mean, I don't know how true that is. I mean, I've always, heard that, and that I mean that we're just the highest being of mammals, but um, no, I don't know really what his point is. Like, what is he trying
Well,
to
okay,
say?
I'm trying to be careful what I'm saying. That's why this is kind of obtuse.
Okay.
But he's the idea of a leech of a way of living, right? You got these moths or whatever or wasps. Wasps are motherfuckers. They might lay their eggs in a damn living animal, and the damn animal, the eggs will grow inside that animal until it kills them, and then the eggs eat the animal, and that it was laid in, and that's how it incubates itself to grow enough to become a grown wasp.
Yeah.
So like what I'm saying is like, okay, as humans, we have the choice to decide on how we want to live, right? We were saying in the other video,
Hmm.
um, our God's greatest gift to us is the gift to choose.
Hmm.
So, with that choice, we can choose to be productive or we can choose to be destructive. We can choose to be, bountiful and plentiful, or we can choose to be, desolate, or we could choose to be nice and friendly, or we can choose to be cruel. So, like in nature, sometimes some animals they're really, really cruel in the way that their whole life cycle is cruel to other creatures. That makes sense to what I'm saying. And this is not in a defense, you guys, and to everyone listening. I'm just trying to get you guys to open your minds to think about these things. Let's read the comments. Doc says Mr. Smith's speech to Morpheus. Yeah, that speech and it was a great performance anyway. That guy's a fucking phenomenal actor. The look on his face, the damn vein popping out his forehead while he was talking, it was so good.
Hmm.
And it was so well written. Okay, more from Doc. I like to share a revelation during my time here. It came to me when I tried to classify your species. Oh, this is the speech. I realized that you're not actually mammals. Every mammal on this planet instinctively develops a natural equilibrium with the surrounding environment, but you humans do not. You move to an area and you multiply until every natural resource is consumed. The only way you can survive is to spread to another area. This is another organism on the planet that follows the same pattern. And you know what it is? A virus. Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague. You are the cure. And we are the cure, meaning the machines. And the idea of that's what I'm trying to explain. So like when I was talking about are you an algorithm in the other video, and then I'll be talking about zombie robots and how people get triggered. So again, and this is not necessarily a racial thing, but certain group of people can decide that they should live off of the fruits of other people's labor, like they shouldn't have to do anything. Does that make any sense?
No, I
Like
get.
we're above these other ones. We're smarter. We're more intelligent. We're more organized. So we're just gonna, you know,
But I mean, th-
eat their babies.
one of the things that I think that they don't consider because they've absolved themselves of all of the pain and stuff that they cause others, even while they're causing it. And uh, they look down on the people that they've put in the situation that they're in. So, that's why, like I mean, really, you know, that's how you know that they have not, atoned for their sins. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that they've done wrong. I mean, like they're going out of their way to try to keep from the future learning about all these things that's happened because I mean they don't intend to atone for their sins. They plan on replacing any whatever they can with robots or whatever what another if you want to call species, whether it's technology or not, to replace the people who complain about doing all of the work for something that won't complain and still they don't have to pay. Like, I mean,
It's insanity, man. Because how can you expect to have peace on a land, like, on ancient Indian burial ground? It's like the old scary movies. It's built on the old ancient burial ground, old Indian ancient burial ground. How you gonna find peace on like stolen land, on blood land, and and then you haven't done any reparations, to these people, and these people are still angry and still suffering behind it. How can you continue to have peace? And I think that's related to our police state that we talk about, with the amount of cops that we have, and kind of like the brutality that they have on everybody. It's not necessarily racial, but they just, it's related to not wanting to atone for your wrongs.
well, the thing is, I mean, that would be a great question to a rational people. For someone who does not exercise that attribute, I mean, that's never going to be clear. Like like to some, like they really don't get it. Like they don't understand why people are angry and why, like, what do
Right.
you mean? Like like they feel like okay, like the concessions that feel that they've made, they think that that should be good enough. But no, like they, because they didn't feel all of the things that they've, did to people, they don't truly understand it. And, I mean, and I'm not, because there's smart people, obviously, to be able to, get away with all of this, especially them being the minority on the planet. Like they're obviously brilliant, like to some extent, but it's still just like some type of you know, but still ignorant at the same time. You know,
It's a will for ignorance. It's like a blindness. But what I'm saying is they have the excuse of this, because I really believe. I remember reading somewhere, and I don't want to make nobody angry again, but this one was about like, it was like a Jewish rabbi, and he was like, certain people are like the, what do you call it? It's the big bird, the hawk or whatever. There's a bird that goes and steals like the chicks of other birds, like, like the baby birds, like they go over there to nest and they eat the baby birds. It's a much bigger bird. Anyways, it's like some humans are that big bird, and other humans are the ones that's in that nest, and they just feel like that's the natural order of things. Let me read Doc's
well,
comment.
well,
He,
yeah, you go ahead and read it because I actually, I read it and I
yeah, he
have a
said
comment.
he said in some fucked up kind of way, Thanos might not have been completely wrong, and I totally sympathize with Thanos, and I think that when they made that movie, they wanted him to be kind of sympathetic, as far as like you can definitely see his point of view on things. But then when you got the Georgia Guidestones, and then you got then you got the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah. Well, honestly, like Thanos is probably the most sane and humane person that was in that story
yeah,
because he understood, like he, I guess been around long enough to have seen things when when it was more in harmony, and saw the extent that it had gotten to, and he knew, like, putting all those powers together and pretty much at that snap of a finger, making a reset. I mean,
It
I
feels
think.
like I feel like it's the story of the Native Americans, and that movie, the one Avatar, and it's like bringing back balance, and instead of like raping the resources, you know,
Hmm.
and not necessarily about the number of people, but how we live. You know what I'm saying? In a way that is in balance with nature. But Thanos's answer was, let's just cut half the people and then it's going to be more resources. Um, but I think that's that economic, that's that neoliberal ass bullshit, bruh. That they brainwashing everybody. All these fucking movies. I didn't watch a lot of them, but I watched that particular movie because I liked the idea of it. And the part where it was like the little kid. He was so gentle to his people. Like you could see that he really like he was a compassionate being. Like he loved life. Like he really cared, and he really also felt like what he was doing was a good thing. That he was helping.
Yeah, and you know, I I really feel like in nature, nature repairs itself. Nature fixes itself. There's you know, just something that's built into the universe that, I mean, if there's too many people, because I mean, there's limited resources because of all of the waste, and
Yeah.
that the people that claim to be wanting to fix it at this point, the ones in power that say, like, will say, like, get rid of half of the population, or 2/3, or whatever their number is. I mean, they are the biggest contributors to the waste. So it's like, how, what really puts them in a position to
and
be
and
able
and
to
and and then it has to do with hoarding, right? Because I have to say this over and over again. Like we worship the millionaires and billionaires, and they're hoarding resources is what they're doing. And that's another. We have a lot of waste, but then we have a
well,
whole lot of hoarding of
well,
resources.
well, I have to push up back on that a little bit, because, like, I mean, I know, like, I know you don't necessarily, worship them or whatever, but just, a lot of people may not. Like, some people really want to be able to put themselves in a higher position, or a
Yeah, but
to get
my
to more to.
question. I always ask this question: how much is enough? Like, I don't think most people even understand how much $1 billion is.
No,
999 million plus another 100 million to
no,
get to a billion. And then we be throwing numbers around
no.
like trillion. That's 999 billion. Do you guys understand? Like $1 billion, if you had it in cash and it was in $100 bills, like it would feel, I don't know, it would fill a fucking office building, bruh. People don't understand how much fucking money that
No,
is.
I get it, and I mean, it's a thousand millions. So I mean, that 999 plus another million, that would cover that
Yeah.
billion. But I mean, but see, I don't think it's really about that, especially because, I mean, I can speak from my point of view, is that, like, in order to be able to change the dynamics of the world, like, at some point, like, you have to play that game that everybody else is playing. So until you reach the that level of power, to be able to reverse it, to change it back to where things can go, be put back in the balance. Like, I mean, and for me, being wanting to be a multimillionaire is, I mean, I know a bunch of people around me aren't, like, they may not be as responsible with money, or even as that just I want to be able to take care of other people. Like I'm
and
not.
help.
It's
But
not.
look,
It's
this
not just
falls
for
in.
me.
I think this falls into the neoliberal kind of like idea, because the way the world is set up, it's like the billionaires are the ones that can save us, right? We got to rely on the billionaires, the millionaires, trillionaires, or whatever. They're our only hope.
No, they're not. I mean, that's the thing. Like I think. I mean, there's a misconception there because you know I guess to really understand it from the point of view is for you to be the person that really sees the full picture, not just the outside, pointing the finger. I mean, as long as you do that, you're not really like I can. I think that in order to truly make change, you have to obtain the power that these people have. Like you have to find a way to be able to do just as much, or do as much as these other people can, or at least be able to protect a certain amount of people from getting sucked up by those people.
And I
It's
agree with you. You have to build institutions. But the thing is, that's not what we do. We build personal wealth. And then we like it's all about
do
charity.
do do you have any idea, like a lot of millionaires, how many people they take care of?
I understand that. It's regular niggas that ain't millionaires. That we was talking about that before about monogamy and polygamy, and how you got these niggas paying bills at multiple fucking households. These are regular Joe Blow,
No,
Tebow in the
I
corner.
don't no, I don't mean it just like that. I mean, that's another selfish view, and I mean to point that out in this conversation, I don't know, it makes me feel like you really don't understand. You know what I'm
I
saying? Like,
don't. Clear it up for
He's
me.
talking. He's talking about the millionaires. Like you hear these rappers all the time when they're doing interviews, and how they have so many people that depend on them. Not only just their mother and their father and their brothers and sisters, but their aunts and their uncles and their cousins
Steve
and
Steve
grandmothers and things
Harvey.
of that nature.
Steve Harvey just made a conversation about him not being able to really go back and do comedy and like stand up and stuff because it's too risky for him. Not just because yeah, he enjoys his good life, but there's so many people that depend on him that like he works at different like there's so many people that work based on what he does, keeps a certain level of people, a certain amount of people employed, and by him taking a risk of trying to do some stand up and offending one person can change the dynamics of all of that. There's a bunch of people starving now because of that.
And I get it. But what I'm saying is that is not gonna save the world. Me becoming a millionaire, you becoming a millionaire is
What
not gonna save the world.
what's because I mean you can like I mean there has to be a step by step process. Like none of these people that's billionaires, like maybe a few of them may have been millionaires or whatever, but a lot of them that we know now, like shit, they weren't the billionaires, these uber rich people at some point. Like they grew to that level, but they got the wrong mindset. So I mean, in order to change it, somebody has to do something to build the same way that they did, but have a different mindset that will allow the things to recalibrate itself.
Can
Well,
I
what I
can I say this real quick? Like I feel like for me, I feel like when we have these conversations, I feel like people look at the uber rich or the extremely wealthy people as if they have it all, and it's like at the end of the day, they don't have enough money to save the world, bro. Like they don't have enough. They don't have it all. You
Well,
know what I'm saying? I feel like
that's
we
my
have to
point.
start. We have,
they don't have
you
they,
know,
they don't have it. They don't have it all, but they're still in positions to still fuck up the world more.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I'm in agreement with that, Pat. What I'm saying is that I feel like in these conversations, I feel like a lot of people look at them to be, oh, well, they can make a difference here. That's true. That's true enough. They can make a difference. They can make a big difference. But what I would argue is, at the end of the day, do we truly want them to come into our communities and make a difference? Because I, as an individual, I do
The,
not trust them because I feel like
the,
they all it be like you
no,
say, that mind
Well,
state is trying to make a difference, but then they see the financial gain in this, and then it
and
becomes
that's
a
what I'm.
business,
That's
and
my
then it
they're
point.
too.
becomes
But see,
corrupt.
they're too far gone to save themselves. They're like
So
their mindset. See that's like in order to really get the world like everybody is good in the world, like you have to be pure at heart from the beginning. And
yeah, but power corrupts, money corrupts.
no,
But Pat, what I'll
I
say to this, I'll in it, like in your argument, I would say that there's always more than one way to go at things. So not
I
to say that going at that, things that way is wrong. You
okay,
know, I'm not saying that.
okay.
Let me read the comments. Uh, it's way deeper than the comments, but look at MCU since then. They have been exploring how things had gotten better with half the population and how people are pissed now that they returned. In the comics, the motivations weren't as deep. He took out half of the life in the universe trying to get into the path of Lady Death, Death's daughter. Half a million in the bank is enough for me. After taxes, I would get about 5 to 6 thousand a month for the rest of my life. From there, I would invest in small startup businesses in risky communities where banks are resistant. I'm hearing you, Doc.
But that's still kind of selfish too, because I mean, you're just looking at what's good for you. And that's the part that I'm saying, like, yeah, I could live off of that too. But at the same time, like, I mean, even me pushing the way that I do now, like, I don't benefit from every dollar that I get. I mean, of course, I have a kid. I have, an ex-wife that, I have my mother. I have brothers that don't make nearly as much. Like, I supplement other people's lives, now. So that's the way that I'm talking about is being able to expand that more. You know what I'm saying? To be able to at least supplement or change other people's lives. Maybe have enough money to start something that can feed the homeless, or give some shelter to people that I don't know. See, I mean,
In the
that's
community. But
yes.
how many are doing that? Where do we see that? How
But but
many
but that's the thing.
examples
I
do
can
we
only
have?
control. But that's the part. I can only maybe inspire others. I can only do what I know I can do, and maybe inspire others like you guys to maybe do the same. Where you can, like, because just like with my brothers, like, if in the next couple of years I'm a millionaire and I can help out, and yeah, I can take care of y'all, and my brothers, my mom, and I can take care of everybody that's kind of close to me. But what if you do the same thing that I'm doing, and you
I
can
Yeah.
I
spread
do
out and do the same?
I do that now. I do that now. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
that's what I'm saying.
I
I'm
have
doing it now,
always
but
had a heart to give, and
yeah,
like when
but
I
that's
was
what
an
I'm
owner
saying.
operator, I did so much for my family coming out of, my sisters, my brothers, and stuff like that coming out of foster care. The people that I've helped, friends and family. I do that now, and I make way less now. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, but see,
it's
but
always
but
for
the
me to.
intention. See, the thing is when you start off with the right intentions. Like, I mean, if you've learned all of you see all of the ways that get people in trouble and you know ruin things, and you're making sure that you don't fall into that.
Yeah,
Oh, we lost him.
yeah. Nah, I get exactly where he's coming from. And that's the thing. We can't. I think that's the thing. People on the outside looking in feel like, oh, you should be doing more, you should be doing this. But I totally 100% agree with that. You can only do on the level that you're able to do on. Other people that are out here preaching like yourself, preaching, hey, we should do this, we should do that. You have to start somewhere. You have to start on the level. You have to go in with those things, with those good intentions. You have to keep those same intentions throughout the whole process. You as an individual can't become bigger than the entity or bigger than what you are trying to push to better your community or to better the lives of people around you that depends on whatever you're pushing. So I agree with that. Like I, I'm
Well,
one person. You can't. People around me can't expect me. I can only do what I can do. I can only help. Yes, I'll get out there and try to reach out to others, but I'm only one person. I don't have
well,
enough to go help the whole entire city of Houston, a city with 10 million people. You know what I'm saying? I can't make a
well,
difference in everybody's life, but I can start in a small group. And hopefully, that my intention and what I'm doing will inspire the people that I have put on and made their life better. Hopefully, they'll branch out and help somebody else. And that's the way it's got to be. So I 100% agree with what Pat was saying. I just think people that are down there, they're looking out like they don't see that. You know what I'm saying? And it don't necessarily have to be monetary. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It can be you
well,
feeding somebody. It can be you giving somebody something. You know what I'm saying? Like I never
A hug.
pass judgment. Yeah, I never pass judgment, bro. Like I don't care if like I have people ask me all the time, damn man, why you gave that dude? All you had was money. Why you gave that dude, man? He took up. It ain't my. I don't care what he took to do. I gave it because I felt led. Something in the
well,
universe, the spirit in me felt led to get his man something. Felt led to buy this man something. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I've always been because I know what it is to be homeless. You know what I'm saying? I know what it is to go without. You know what I'm saying? I know what it is to have molded ass bread in the house. You got to put that shit oh, you know what I'm saying? To push that shit up and scrape the mold out this so you can pick the fucking jelly sandwich. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I know what it is, so, but at the end of the day, I'm only one person. You know what I'm saying? If I'm helping people around me and they're not taking what I'm giving them and branching that shit out and making the olive branch, you know what I'm saying? And where are we going? Because you have so many people that you may be trying to help them put on, but they don't want nothing else but a fucking handout. And I see that shit so much with my family. I see it with around friends. You know what I'm saying? So it's different levels of stuff you have to say. I agree with you.
And it's like what I was saying. Money doesn't you can't really help people by giving them money, really.
No, not in most
w- w-
cases, no.
well, I'm gonna tell you like this. For me, until God gives me a different revelation of my purpose or my route of doing things, I mean, that's the path I'm on, is doing it this way. And you know like, I mean, will I be able to save the world? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, my thing is to make the difference where I can. And
Yeah.
maybe like I said, to inspire others to maybe do something similar, or at least the most that they can, because
Yeah.
like, it's
Y'all are saying the same thing. Let me read Doc's comment. It says, "We don't have the international infrastructure for any amount of money to save the world right now." And
well,
go ahead.
honestly, I'm gonna tell you, if we actually was to get somebody in power that had the right intentions toward the world, the money wouldn't matter. We just need the direction. Somebody who actually will, you know, focus the minds of people, like the hope that we had when Obama was in office. If he did half the shit that he claimed he was gonna do, like we would already be moving in that direction. Is I mean, the leadership is really our biggest problem. The money is not. The money is not really a problem, but because of the way the world is and how they're acting, that's what has made it a part of being able to change things, is to put yourself in a position of where they are. So I mean, the biggest problem is leadership. If we had, like right now, we're looking at, a president that could change the whole dynamics of how, Russia and Ukraine deal with each other, but he's rather, hey, he wants to see a fight, 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 fight. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not
It's because
real.
of the money. It's because of the military-industrial complex,
I get it.
imperialism,
I get
neoliberalism.
I get it, but see that's what I'm trying. I mean, that's the whole thing. They position themselves, and others, like, they're making fucked up moves on the chessboard.
Let me play a bit of this video a little bit more because I just kind of want to get through this before we. But I'm not gonna play this whole video, so a few more minutes though. Don't go to sleep, y'all.
On June 21st, 1866, the Southern Homestead Act was passed, which allowed the distribution of small plots of southern land to freedmen. Many northern women traveled to the south in order to teach at these freedmen schools, while evangelizing their faith to the former slaves. But after Lincoln's assassination in 1865, Reconstruction fell on his vice president, Andrew Johnson. He was a Southern Democrat who had remained loyal despite being from Tennessee. Lincoln had chosen him as a running mate in order to create a fusion ticket, not comprehending that he would be handing Reconstruction to Johnson after his death. But Johnson in fact took a harsher approach than Lincoln's, which is rather ironic given that the radical Republicans in Congress constantly denounced him for being too easy on the South. Given that Democrats were the mainstay behind secession, radical Republicans blamed Johnson for attempting to gain power through their support. But the main thing Johnson wanted from his Reconstruction was for states to officially renounce secession, as not only wrongful, but as though it had never been countenanced whatsoever. He wanted their legislatures to pass these specific statements. The Supreme Court eventually ruled it anyways with Texas v. White, which decided in 1869 that unilateral secession was unconstitutional, given the Articles of Confederation had stated that it would be perpetual union, and the preamble of the 1787 Constitution, for which we still have as the law of the land, specifically stated it was created to form a more perfect union. Beyond that, new territories had been formed under the Northwest Ordinance, which in early versions specified that territories shall not be relinquished without congressional approval. Lincoln had in fact in 1860 specifically stated these arguments against the legality of secession, and the 1869 Texas v. White decision cemented that interpretation. But Johnson also focused on individuals. He maintained that ironclad oath, but simplified it, making people say, "I do solemnly swear or affirm, in the presence of Almighty God, that I will henceforth faithfully support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Union of the States thereunder, and that I will, in like manner, abide by and faithfully support all laws and proclamations which have been made during the existing rebellion with reference to the emancipation of slaves, so help me God." Lincoln had in fact been willing to pardon and make huge exceptions from taking this ironclad oath, but Johnson officially exempted all Confederate leaders. He still individually pardoned most Confederate leaders, with the implicit meaning that they no longer serve in government, but this was after the failure of the ironclad oath to reach 10% in many states. The only Confederate to be executed was a captain in charge of the Andersonville prisoner of war camp. though the Confederate president, Jefferson Davis, was held in a military prison for 2 years. Another pledge that Johnson wanted in order to bring states back into the Union was a pledge for black political rights, but he set up no means of enforcing it, ultimately allowing states to figure that out themselves and eventually deny voting rights. In fact, he was not even willing to apply this rule to the North and West, so the South was free of actual obligation. He only required the ratification of the 13th Amendment. Finally, he wanted legal renouncements of the Confederacy's debt and secession. Of course, the Confederacy had ran up a great bill of debt in its insurrectionary war, so Johnson would not allow states to be readmitted unless they passed bills stating secession was unconstitutional and all debts incurred during the war were illegal. Despite this kind of reconciliation, though Johnson's was a little bit harsher than Lincoln's, the South proved itself unrepentant. Beginning in 1866 with Mississippi, they passed legislation that was called Black Codes. This essentially reworked the slave statutes from before the war to apply to all black people, with extra malicious clauses such as vagrancy laws, which allowed Southern law enforcement to pick up black people who were deemed to be too idle and jail them. Since it was a common practice to lease convicts for manual labor, combining vagrancy laws and convict leasing made for what many interpreted as a new form of slavery. Even before the Black Codes could be passed, Congress was particularly angry with Johnson's presidential reconstruction. Upon assuming office,
Wait, let me go back. It's way too much shit. Let me play this part again.
Before the war to apply to all black people, with extra malicious clauses such as vagrancy laws, which allowed Southern law enforcement to pick up black people who were deemed to be too idle and jail them. Since it was a common practice to lease convicts for manual labor, combining vagrancy laws and convict leasing made for what many interpreted as a new form of slavery.
Pause. Am I putting y'all to sleep?
No, I'm listening. I'm
Did that last line? New form of slavery, vagrancy laws, leasing prisoners.
Well, it started off ugly by him ratifying the 13th Amendment, which has the clause in there that allows, because it was strategic. This is an asshole. Like, Johnson was an asshole. He pretended to be, on board, just like many of other presidents that, very similar to him. But they ratified the 13th Amendment, which, made it, pretty much legal to put somebody back into slavery or have them work for really no money, by putting them in prison. If they go to jail or prison. And then, if you really listen to what this guy's saying, it was a setup. He got people on his side by saying that he was gonna follow. He gave him an oath that he was gonna, make good on all of the, things that was, done before him, and, I guess but then he started freeing the people who were the criminals of the war, and saying that, they just can't serve in politics no more. But as all these things are evolving, he's setting it up to fuck over black people again. I mean,
It's like, and the similarities to today is what I want to focus on. And then it's like you pass this legislation, but then you don't give it no teeth, and that's what they do to this day. And it's cosmetic. It's like this. I forget what the word I was calling, but it's like this politics where it just looks like they're doing something. I think you said it too. But then they leave out the teeth to actually enforce it and make it an actual reality. You know what I'm saying?
Typical.
And
we
leave
gotta point
loopholes.
out, because Andrew Johnson was a Democrat,
Right.
and he was doing, and this guy, for whatever reason, he says that even then, like, they were the more conservative over the Republicans. But I mean, I don't necessarily see that. I feel like they were like way more, I guess you could say conservative to the point to where like they're not, it's not, they're trying to hide it that they're, what their motives are, but they're still strongly making policy that doesn't match up with, what they're, saying in the public. So that's very much like
Uh, uh,
Democrats right now, or let's
yeah.
just say politicians.
Yes.
Politicians of today, like they're doing the very same thing. They're making you feel like they're doing the right things, but they've pretty much
They
given
leave
a,
the loopholes, and they don't
yeah,
they don't they don't put no teeth in it, and then they give it away to the states, and the states do whatever the hell they wanted to do in the first place.
exactly. And then the black codes, which I mean most people should realize, like these are not laws. These are things that they have decided you know to themselves that, all right, well, you know what,
Locally.
these are
Yeah.
things. It's not just locally, this is even on a federal level. These are things that we can do to these people, and if you do it, I'll agree with it, or I'll turn my back and I didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because we got to realize the difference. What laws are one things, but when you start talking about like I said, the codes and the what's the other, like, I mean, they're not etched in stone stuff, but these are things that have become an idea, and if people practice them, you know, I won't necessarily punish them for it.
Yeah. So like the thing is, the South kind of won. Well, with the assassination of Lincoln, well, this guy Johnson was on the ticket just to balance the ticket. He was, to make Lincoln not seem so, you know, liberal, if you will, so against slavery, if you will. So he had a Southern dude to run, and they do that to this day in politics. Balance the ticket is what they call it. So, but then when Lincoln dies, then the South got their guy in. Really, if you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. Well, yeah, they got one of their southern guys in there that's, you know, he's incognito with he's acting
Leave
as
me
if
around
he's
sometime.
doing
Just saying.
good by the country,
I understand.
blowing smoke up people's asses, but you find out what his real, the real Johnson, who the real Johnson is with his policies, you know. But that's like, I mean, you saying, bring it to what we're dealing with today. I mean, it is exactly what we're dealing with today.
Especially with the prison part. That's what I wanted to stress. Because immediately he said, vagrancy laws or whatever, these are all specifically for black people, basically. Put them back in prison because we already have a clause in there where you can make prisoners work for free. It's all a setup.
Yeah, because I mean, if you got a black man that's out there busting his ass and working hard, we already kind of got him. He's already enslaved to us, in so many ways. But if you see one that's around here chilling,
All right, bro. I'm not. Oh,
enjoying
shit.
himself, or just relaxing, nah, you need to pick his ass up and go put his ass to work somewhere, and even if that's prison. I mean, in a nutshell, that's what that is.
Yeah. And we rather get him be lazy so we can put him in prison and make him work for free so we don't have to pay him shit.
Yeah,
And we can call him a criminal and he can say he ain't shit. He an animal. He not civilized.
yeah. So I
Uh,
mean,
Let me play a bit more. Cause this shit is heavy as hell.
it is, bro. Like my first time around, I'm like, man, this is some crazy shit, because I mean, it's revisionist for me. Like, it's certain things that I've learned before, but and then like the way he says these things, I mean, he's real fast at what he's saying. Like he's doing this shit like really quick, but I mean all the points like they practically like line right up. So I
Yeah.
don't.
Uh,
Yeah.
and, 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 and even like some of the stuff we talk about in history, regardless of that, and I guess what I'm trying to say is this guy tries to be as fair as he can or whatever, you know what I'm saying, in his perspective, and trying to give it, you know, both sides of point of view and shit. But
No,
actually,
he has a side. He
he
leans
does.
towards. Yeah, you could tell by his tone and the.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
everybody has a bias. I mean, he doesn't deny it. But I'm
yeah,
just saying he does a really good job of. Let's watch a little more.
Even before
yeah.
the Black Codes could be passed, Congress was particularly angry with Johnson's presidential reconstruction. Upon assuming office, it appointed provisional governors over the rebel states and allowed them to send congressmen, which ended up including numerous ex-Confederate leaders. On the 5th of December 1865, Congress barred all ex-Confederates from being seated. So with the Black Codes, Congress saw Reconstruction as a failure. But the ignition point for their displeasure were two race riots in Tennessee and New Orleans, which are perhaps better termed as race massacres. In May of 1866, black Union veterans in Memphis, Tennessee, got in a minor shootout with white police, who instead of doing their job as police officers, joined with white crowds in massacring blacks in retaliation. Of the 48 people dead, only 2 were white. Later on that year, in July, black and white Republicans were attempting to create a new Louisiana Constitution, but were set upon by white supremacist crowds, massacring another 48, 44 of which were black. These kinds of race riots, or massacres, persisted well into the 1920s, but these two initial 1866 massacres were seen as especially Johnson's fault. His Reconstruction was a failure, and he became increasingly at odds with Congress. For Congress was primarily Republicans, while Johnson was a Democrat. And while not all Republicans were radicals, almost all were opposed to Johnson's lackluster Reconstruction, so they tried to push him legislatively. The first conflict came in February of 1866, when it came time to renew the Freedmen Bureau's funding. Johnson claimed that federal funding of such a bureau was unconstitutional. The federal government specifically did not have the power to create social programs. Congress could not gather enough votes to override his veto, so the Freedmen's Bureau did not receive renewed funding, though it continued to function with diminished resources until 1872 when it ran out of money. Concerned about the black codes in the South, the Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866. But Johnson thought that federal civil rights infringed on states' rights, so on March 27th, he vetoed the bill. This time, Congress gathered enough votes to override his veto a couple of weeks later. Civil rights could now be federally enforced. But Johnson didn't want to enforce it. After all, he had vetoed the bill. He thought that states had the right to decide what civil rights were within their borders, since the South was still occupied in 1866, so he started angling to remove the Secretary of War, who was ultimately in charge of enforcing civil rights. In February of 1867, Congress passed the Tenure of Office Act, which required the Senate's approval on all presidential removals. So the Secretary of War was protected by this, though the bill was likely extremely unconstitutional. Johnson once again vetoed this in March of 1867, but Congress was ready and overrode his veto the same day. As though the Republicans were at odds enough with Johnson, they in fact recognized the constitutional arguments he was making, so they overrode those concerns by passing the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. In June of 1866, Congress sent it out for ratification, becoming a key component of southern states being readmitted to the Union. It gave all citizens civil rights, though it was not fully adopted until July of 1868. In its first section, it blatantly said, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Under the 14th Amendment, discrimination was unconstitutional, but state and local governments would come up with creative ways of getting around this, by claiming that their laws were colorblind and therefore non discriminatory, despite being anything but that. The rest of the amendment sections had to do with the apportionment of congressional representation, the denial of office for those who had led the insurrection, and the denial of Confederate debt or any remuneration for slaveholders losing their slaves, specifically stating that all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. There was a clear and public split between Andrew Johnson and the
Okay, again, that dude said a whole lot in like 2 minutes. I don't know where to start.
I
I'm
was about to
lost.
say it. I don't know where to begin with that one.
He it goes back to like he was pushing against it. Johnson was pushing against, the let's call it a revolution, or the reconstruction, or dealing with this situation in a fairer way or whatever. Like every step of the way he's blocking it, you know what I'm saying? And then you got Congress pushing against him. So, but then this is the dysfunction of our government, right? It's how, like, today, when we feel like nothing gets done, like, and they just argue about everything, and then shit just kind of like barely, nothing really happens. Like, nothing substantial happens. I think that's that too, even though the 14th Amendment is substantial, but when you really read that shit, when they talk about the jurisdiction within the states, you know where I'm going with this, Pat, right? Help me. My brain is all over the place.
Well, that what you were just starting to quote, I remember that from the what was that, Motu Proprio of 2012. And there's probably lots of other documents that's similar, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure what you know. I guess repeat what the last thing you said so that
The
I can.
jurisdictions, like, let me play, because that's, let me just go back in the video a little bit, y'all. It's the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any persons within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws. That's section 1 of the 14th Amendment, and that's what they use a lot of times, but what I wanted to specify on here, because I know that you're sensitive to this, Pat, it says citizens of the United States, what is it? Persons within its jurisdiction. Persons within its jurisdiction, the equal protection of the laws. And then it said citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Do you get what I'm saying?
So, I mean, is that pretty much just saying that they're dual citizens? They're
Well, I
all.
don't I don't know. I don't know about that, but those words are saying a lot. And then it's, the jurisdiction, because we talk about that all the time. It's like how the law deals with you is based on what jurisdiction it has over you. Basically, jurisdiction is you submitting to that jurisdiction, right?
They usually what to what you said it? I
You,
missed the first.
what I'm saying is you have to submit to the jurisdiction. You become a part of the jurisdiction, so therefore you have liberty, property, due process of the law.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly by default because of like you becoming like them doing your birth certificate, this social, like I mean, you pretty much when your mom signs the birth certificate, yeah, you're now a part. You are subject to the government, the or you're part of within their jurisdictions when that happens. So, I mean, that's that's pretty much what's like you don't they don't have it's like this like as a child unless your parents know better than to do all of that you're gonna be a part of you'll fall directly under their jurisdiction just because you're making contracts with them such as the birth certificate, social security, like
Right, right,
yeah
right. That's where I was going. Doc says foreign diplomats are not subject to U.S. jurisdiction. I want to read section 2 of this 14th Amendment right here.
yeah, that's kind of how I fall. As I'm not really like say a diplomat, but I am considered a national. So I mean, a national. That's where like it's almost like when you come from another country, you're living within the rights of that other country, but you also as long as you abide by the laws and things like that, like you're you know not you don't really fall under their jurisdictions, but you know if you do certain crimes, I mean it don't matter what your jurisdiction is. I mean you won't
You,
have to
you lose your
you,
rights and privileges,
well
but you do supposed to
you have
get
to
due
live
process of the law.
yeah, exactly, like you do get the
But you due process of the law is not when the cops shoot you down on the street.
no. That of course that's never due process. I mean,
So
you
do those
haven't
people have the rights of citizens?
what those who is those people?
The people who got shut down by the cops. Maybe they did
Well,
something wrong.
yeah, maybe they did something wrong, but at the same time, if they weren't in imminent danger, they're supposed to bring them in. Whether they arrest them or give them their ticket, they're still subject to the government and its laws or
And I think people they do extrajudicial killings, and a lot of it is based on this idea that some people aren't protected under these jurisdictions. And let me read section 2 where I can get a little bit of this idea that I'm talking about from. Representatives shall be apportioned among several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive, the judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislation thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state, male inhabitants, being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged, except for participation in rebellion or other crime. The basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in each state. I don't know what that last little part meant because that sounded like depending on
well
how many people. Go
well
ahead.
yeah, I mean the population because I mean you gotta have this I guess that falls under the representation that you get in Congress or you know
Okay, yeah.
within the
So yeah, that's how it goes for the state representatives. It's all based on the population.
Mhm.
You know, that's why Texas has so many and California has so many representatives. There's so many people.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back a bit because I'm putting y'all to sleep. Let me go back a bit.
Well, it's not you. It's not you. It's just. I mean,
it's 4 a.m.
Long day.
And it says, what did
That
I
little
want to
nap.
say?
That little nap I get only lasts for so long.
It says numbers counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. Indians not taxed. So
All right. See, they're not a part of the jurisdiction. Like they have their own jurisdiction. They operate just like anybody else. They can do what everybody else can do, but they don't get the same representation based on their population. It's only those who actually, that they can really say is their minions, or like they're slaves. You know what I'm saying? They're the people that fall under their jurisdiction is who gets the representation. But that's not even fully true because even though you're supposed to be like recognized by your vote, and you're getting representation from in Congress and all that stuff based on you being here, but we know that everybody's not being represented the same.
And that's what I'm talking about.
No shit.
What was this? There's a story that popped up lately with the cops. Hold on, let me see. Is this old?
Hey, have y'all noticed that we hadn't really been seeing anything come up about cop killings?
Actually, we have.
Where? No, like national shit.
Well, not nationally, but like New York, in the news, they was just talking about how, they had that big parade for those cops who was killed in New York, and a lot of people complaining about it, and it was such a big, huge parade.
It's been reversed. Like, I mean, okay, because we've heard, it hadn't become like a national thing on that either, but you're hearing more about civilians killing cops. You're not, like, I'm not saying that it's not happening, but we're not
They're
really
bigging
hearing
up the other side, right?
They're not making a bunch of noise about really any of that. You know what I'm saying?
This shit, man, when they coming up in people's houses, let me play a little bit of this. I don't mean to trigger y'all. Legally permitted handgun with them. Police barged in using a no-knock warrant and shot him 3 times.
As there's a gun emerging in your direction, you're forced to make a split-second decision about when it's a threat.
Chief Huffman, no, hold on. Chief Huffman, no, do not. Okay, I'm not a threat. I don't have a gun. Okay, don't treat me like I'm a threat. This is what I would call the anatomy of a cover-up. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry, it is. I'm not here for it. We fought too long, too hard.
Well,
no knock warrants.
Don't cover up for what those cops did. If they knew that the kid had a gun as he started waking up, say, drop your weapon. They didn't do that. One cop opened fire and took the life of a child who was trying to go back into his blanket. Any mom can see what happened there. So I can't tolerate the whitewashing. I'm sorry, y'all. We can't do this. This is unacceptable.
That's some gangster shit. She stood up in the middle of
Yeah.
their bullshit and it's like, nah, we ain't about to do
Why was
this.
Amir Locke referred to as a suspect
Yeah,
in the
that's some
MP's
gangster
case?
shit.
I don't know. So, can you speak to that?
Certainly unclear yesterday, but it remains unclear if or how Mr. Locke is connected to St. Paul's investigation, and more information will be coming as St. Paul digs further into the case.
Refer to him as a suspect in a press release if you didn't know. No. Was anyone apprehended as part of this? Also, when will you release your search warrant? How is walking out of a press conference transparency? You are a murderer! You owe us answers.
This is a shame. This is what we have been fighting against. This is what we've been fighting against since George Floyd was killed. Running away from accountability and transparency. This is shame.
Since before.
Residents
George
or people
Floyd.
in Minneapolis need to know this cannot continue. They killed a young man who was sleeping. He did not even have a chance.
I don't think they need as much as protection as they say they do.
Did y'all see what the little scandal that's going on in Louisiana with the governor?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
John Bel Edwards is governor in Louisiana. He there was an accident. Like they said that it was a like the guy got killed after the like pretty much like there was a chase. The cops chased him down and this, that, and the other, and they pretty much lied and said that because of the accident and this, that, and the other. But the governor actually has been found that he knew a totally different story from the beginning, the truth of it all, and he hid it. He didn't speak up about any of that or do anything about it that that
Sorry, y'all.
Yeah,
Right.
I love that song. But that so I mean they're calling for him to resign right now. The parents of the guy, because I don't want to call him a kid, but he was a young guy that got killed somehow, because now it's like, okay, there's no certainty on what really happened, but the governor is found to have been lying about the whole story. So there's a lot of shit going on that's not really, it's not big news, but it's the bullshit that we hear in the media. Because like you talk about just not too long ago with Cuomo, he hit on some girl in his office, and now he he lost his job because he thought somebody was attractive, and nobody really knows if there was anything other than that. But just because something makes a girl feel weird because somebody's saying, hey, you got it going on, like what
But this guy is actually like a judge, and he's
a governor.
A governor, and
he's hiding fucking evidence, and he's still governor. You know what I'm saying? This is like there's nothing that really happened. And if he decides that he's gonna resign, I guess they could try to send, like make a lawsuit against him and this, that, and the other. And it's just I don't know, but the world is so confusing, bro. Like the shit that people are getting upset about, and the things that people ignore.
And that I'm glad, Pat, because I'm glad you're saying this, because it'd be those small stories that you really should follow. Because whatever they made a big story about is something that is a tool for them. It's probably something to divide people or distract you or something.
Exactly.
The little story at the end, the little thing that's going across the screen at the bottom that they barely mention or barely touch on, that be what's really happening.
Yeah, that's the significant stuff. You know, they try to keep certain things under wraps because, you know, like this is something that's probably a normal practice, things that's happening, you know, day to day normally that, you know, they're able to get away with because of their positions. And then it just so happens to get out where somebody, you know, like however it got out, because I'm not sure the details on that, but it's out and that's pretty much, you know, he, you know, he's a part of a cover up of a murder of a, you know, something that some cops did. So
I'm about 10 minutes late, but let me read Doc's comment. It says the number of male voters will be counted at the reduced rate. He was clearing up the end of the part of the amendment that I didn't understand. And he said that's why cigarettes are $20 a carton less on the reservation. You only pay tribal reservation tax, not federal or state.
yeah.
So therefore, they don't have jurisdiction over them because they don't pay taxes.
Well, we don't pay taxes because
It's a time
it's the
frame.
other way around. We
I
don't pay
got you, bro.
taxes.
Time frame.
Huh?
Few minutes.
No,
We up.
What's up? What you say,
no,
Pat?
no, no. I say it's really the other way around. We don't pay taxes because we're not under their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
It's not. You know, you said it the other way around. It's like, well, you know, because they're not. You know, because they're not under the. Well, I guess it could be read. I guess depending on how it was, but to me it sounded different because we're not under their jurisdiction is why we don't pay taxes. But either way, I was just trying to clear up what you were
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then it's like people are they don't want to pay taxes. Like that's people's complaint all the time. Um, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm getting tired,
Well,
but
I'm gonna say this. Like I know for me, I feel that if I'm not being represented the way that I should be, why should I pay you taxes? Like, you know, if you, you know, if we had the same protections under the law as, you know, everyone else, then me paying taxes would be no problem. You know, I mean, I pay taxes forceful, you know, pretty much it's kind of forced on you, or, you know, this ultimatum, you know, you pay or you stay in jail, you go to jail or whatever. But, you know, legally, you know, I don't pay taxes, but you know, the main reason is that we don't receive the same representation that you know we should receive with you know with no question. And you know, I can use my tax money with my own government, you know, if you know, because we don't really get taxed there either, but we can utilize those funds to do things for ourselves.
ooh, let's touch on this right quick because this is what clears up what I was trying to say in the other video. The stuff that Trump was saying that I said that he could get him in trouble. This is the quotes because I don't know what this is, but this is Pence saying that what Trump was saying
belongs
is
to the American people
not
and
right.
the American
Because
people alone.
Trump was
When are you
saying
guys gonna play some music, or do I need to play some music?
Trump was saying
President
that.
Trump is wrong.
Anyways, listen.
I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. And frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president. Under the Constitution, I had no right to change the outcome of our election.
He said in a speech that, you know,
President Trump is
Pence could have overturned it, the election.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was trying to
Wait a
say in
minute,
the other show.
what was that I just saw?
This is the randomness of the internet, man.
No, keep going. Keep right here. What? Oh, her phone. Okay, I was like, wait a minute. Oh, she took a picture. Oh, wow. Okay, it's supposedly, allegedly, she took a, yeah, allegedly.
And it looked like roast beef.
Yeah, that's some random shit for real.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap it. I gotta take Curtis home. Curtis is over here. I gotta drive this dude home. It's 4:30.
Yeah,
I
5:30
know.
my time. Tomorrow I'll be on Eastern time. It might be a little better for me. I don't know. I don't know if it really even makes a difference. But shoot, man, I'll be ready to do this again tomorrow.
Yep. I think I covered all the stuff I said I was gonna cover for this week. I think I have a little bit of stuff left over, but so that tomorrow's show is gonna be just, you know, what the leftovers and whatever pops up. Because I think I have a few leftover stuff. So it's gonna be leftovers and whatever pops up.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, I sent the trailer to the devil and the little piece from the devil. Did you see that?
The devil. You sent it to me?
I want to say I did. Did I? Oh yeah, Deuce. You there, Deuce? I thought about what you said and about the links under the videos and I also heard myself in my answer. And my answer to you when you made that suggestion sounded like a lazy ass answer, like a cop out. So, anyways, after the show yesterday, I went back and added the links to all the videos that we watched during that show, the show before that, and the show before that. So the last three shows have all the links to all the videos that we watched in them. And I'm going to do the same with this one because
Cool
I
deal.
think you're right. And I'm going to stop being lazy. It's a good benefit to the people. We talk about the stuff in the videos, and they can go back and watch the video themselves and, learn some stuff, hopefully. Or maybe even come back in a future show and we can talk about it some more.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, so thanks for saying that because I had been asking people for
Suggestions.
feedback and recommendations, and then you gave me one for free, and then I didn't even hear you and
Yeah,
kind of shot you down.
you was like, man, fuck that shit. That's not, fuck, fuck your suggestions, man. No.
Yeah.
That nigga was like, "Do you realize how much time in a day I actually get?"
Right. Yeah, man. So I sounded like a big fucking baby when I heard myself later. I mean, I didn't even watch the video, but I was just listening. I replayed stuff that happens in my mind. And, I'll be thinking about the show all the time. Let me on the way out. I know I'm putting y'all to sleep, but let me play the little trailer to that movie. I don't know if I'm gonna get away with this, but the movie that I was talking about in the show. And we talked about it a couple times. Let me. You know what? Instead of the trailer, I'm gonna play this scene. It's the ending scene.
This is the woman I was telling
Pull
you
her
about.
outside.
Tony.
You know him?
He's my fiance. He had a job interview here today, and he didn't want to bring his tools in with him. I was late picking him up.
Tony what?
Janikowski. Tony Jankowski.
Jankowski is Jankowski. He signed in. Then who is? Come on, breathe. Come on, breathe. Breathe. Come on. Please. It's her. Get in there already. Who are you?
Today, I'm an old woman.
Grab her the moment you get in.
Are you ready for your turn, Anthony?
It's a flashback to the scene when he was a drunk driver, and basically the car accident killed this woman and child. It's always the drunk person that lives through the damn car accident.
The whores, the liars, the cheats, and the deserters. It's always the same thing. You know who I am now, yes?
Take me.
I intend to.
No, take me instead. I deserve this.
You don't believe that.
Yes. Yeah, I do. I should never have left. It's my fault. It's all my fault.
You think you can make some kind of bargain?
Take me instead, please.
Stop saying that! You think this will make you good? You're not good.
No.
You think you can make up for the choices you made?
No.
You think you can be forgiven?
Channel 8.
I killed a mother and her son on Bethlehem Pike 5 years ago. It was a hit and run, and I was never caught. I'm so sorry.
Damn, I really wanted you to. We're wrapping it up right now.
Damn. I really wanted to.
Yeah,
What's the name of that movie again? Devil?
Yeah, it's called Devil. 2010. Y'all go check it out. It touched the shit out of me, bro. It's probably because I grew up in the church, but that movie touched the shit out of me. Go watch it. I'm gonna wrap it, y'all. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for listening. Today is Friday, right? Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.
All right, man. Y'all have a good rest of your morning, night. Well, it's night for us.
Yeah.
It's nighttime, bro.
Well, drive safe. Be careful. You know.
Oh yeah. We're gonna do, man.
Yep.
Y'all take it easy, man. I'm gonna get up out of here. I'm almost to my plant right now to drop this tank out. So.
All right, man. Don't forget to get some rest and take care of yourself. You know, as men, we need to take care of ourselves, man. We need to be reminded of that every day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, there, Pat. Man, you be careful out there.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good night.
All right, y'all too, man. Peace.
All right, peace.
Because I thought you would have maybe